Friday. I'm liking it. Hell of a game last night between the Ravens and Cincinnati. Man, what a game. We'll talk a little bit about that. And I'm wearing Cincinnati gear today in honor of the Bengals loss last night in a post that I put up today. I'm originally from that area, so I pissed off a lot of my friends today. I have to admit that. Pissed off a lot of my friends. I'm going to talk about that. You got the Bucs snapping the losing streak finally. Yeah, and I was going to say last night, if you couldn't beat Utah, then just fold your tent. Just fold your tent, and start to make it one of those Kris Kringle shops down there at the Fiserv Forum, and just make it a massive one. We got some Packers stuff to discuss. Mike Clemens going to join us in the final hour of the program today as the Green Bay Packers. They're resting up and off this week, and I will say this: I took a lot of pleasure in listening to Chicago radio over the last couple of days. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well as the Packers get ready for the Bears. The Bears have a test against the Patriots coming up this weekend, and we'll see what they can do. We'll be watching that game a little intently, but we'll pay attention over there as well to see how Caleb Williams progresses or regresses or whatever. That being said, good to have you on board today. If you want to call us, 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Keith, yes, I would have gone for 2 just the way they did last night. I didn't have a problem with it. If you're going for the win, especially on the road, I don't have a problem with it. Don't have a problem with it. I like the aggressiveness, but I'll get into that momentarily. Text us, 608-321-1670, 608-321-1670. You can also find us on Twitter, at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels. You can find Grant at Wisco, Grant at Wisco Grant. We are on YouTube for those watching over there and continuing to subscribe, and our subscriber list continues to grow. We appreciate that. Go to youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show, youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. Then you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok under The Bill Michaels Show, over on Twitch, Kick, and LinkedIn as well. Same thing. Email the program, thebillmichaels@gmail.com. The website, simply thebillmichaels.com. And then there's the app, WOZN, The Zone Madison. And you can find us on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Google Podcasts as well. Grant, how you doing today, man? In the house?
I'm doing excellent.
Yeah?
Well, last night,
you have your own button now, too.
I have my
Merry
own button.
Christmas.
Thank you. And now I don't have to look at you to turn my microphone on. We finally had sports on last night.
Right.
This week, it's one thing to have both of your teams on bye, but the way that the Badgers schedule and even the Bucs schedule lined up, like Tuesday and Wednesday, there was nothing on.
Right.
There was absolutely nothing on. And then all of a sudden last night, there's 3 games on that I'm trying to watch. Of course, Thursday Night Football, the biggest.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to go sit and watch the game continuously. We had a dinner last night. Boy, I tell you what, I found out a lot last night too. When it comes to, I was with some folks that know marketing.
Okay.
One of my friends was very high up with one of the major beer brands.
Sure.
And we were talking about the amount of sponsorship in the NFL and things that are affordable, things that aren't, and
inner workings.
Yeah, and the ROI, the return on investment, and how it's just they actually have scaled back. They told the NFL no more. It's too outrageous, and the NFL says this is the price, take it or leave it. And they said we got to leave it. We can't do it anymore. Because of the escalation of prices and sponsorships, and how the NBA has just flown up. You and I have talked about the affordability of going. So we were in that discussion last night, and one of the guys that's with us, he was saying the same thing. He's like, and he has his own company and they do extremely well. He's like, I can't afford to keep these tickets anymore. It's just the prices have escalated over the last 5 years just ridiculously. And he said, I can't do this. I can't justify spending this anymore. So it was interesting, especially when it comes to the NBA. He said, especially when you got a guy making 35, 45, 50 million a year that tells you, I'm not playing back-to-backs. I'm only going to play when I feel good and this and that. And they're like, then we're not going to pay your salary. We're not going to do that anymore.
It's a tough sell. It starts to become a tough sell. And I've even noticed it in the NFL a little bit with Tua, right? Where he makes a big stink about a contract. And I think Tua's fine. I think he's a very nice quarterback who deserves to be paid, but it's so everyone's going to get the max contract now. It's weird. As I get older, those things start to, I'm not going to say they bother me, but there's certainly something that you notice,
right? When
you then have to turn around and spend XYZ numbers of dollars on a ticket or on a subscription to watch on TV or whatever.
Exactly. So anyway, it was a really good discussion last night, and we can talk a little bit more about that. Have you listened at all to any Chicago radio?
So I used to listen to Parkins. I listened to a ton of Parkins and Spiegel this summer because I love the Craig Counsell content.
Right.
I haven't listened to a lot of Chicago sports radio. I've listened to a little Boston, and they're getting ready for Drake May versus Caleb Williams.
Right.
So that's been a fun angle too. What are they saying in Chicago?
That it has been Mitch Trubisky, Justin Fields, Caleb Williams. They've all been ruined. They're all done. I'm like, you're not even through a full season. Eberflus is going to get fired.
You're not through halfway through a season.
They're going to get rid of all these clowns that they have that are calling the offense. Their quarterbacks, coaches are jokes. I mean, it's just, and then you've got another quarterback you bring in, you put him in a system his first year, scrap that, put him in a new system. It takes him another year to learn that, scrap that, and it's like wash, rinse, repeat for the misery of Bears fans. And it was, yesterday was a skewering of everybody, except for Ryan Poles. They believe that Ryan Poles has actually put together a talented team. Everybody else from the Caskey family on down is just throw the baby out with the bathwater, clean the stench of losing, get rid of it. Then they're talking about selling a team and where they're going to move it and what they're going to do and what they're going to build. And it's just, it's like the burning down of Bears Nation yesterday. I was, now here's the fear. If they lose to Drake May, if they lose this game coming up this weekend, we may not even have to worry about ever going to Soldier Field again. They may tear it down.
It might just sink into the earth.
Yeah, they may tear it down.
Well, and Adam Rank, I saw this yesterday. You know who Adam Rank is? Bald guy with the beard. He's always trolling Packers fans on NFL Network.
Yes.
He's a fantasy. So he does a podcast, and I don't know if you want to say reported, but he was talking about on his podcast yesterday, was making the rounds that people in NFL circles have told him that the Bears are going to keep Eberflus. Basically, no matter how the rest of this year goes, that they like him. And I'm not sure that I fully buy into that.
I don't know if you could. If they lose this week and then lose to the Packers twice.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of season left, of course.
So there's a lot of season left, but they're sitting at 4-4. They could be 5-4, meet the Packers, lose 5-5. Then after that, they play the Vikings. I would assume the Vikings are a better team and they'll probably get the win. 5-6. After that, the Cardinals, 6-6, we'll say. Let's see here. After that, who do they have on their schedule? Oh, so they got to go to San Francisco, 6-7.
Yeah, their schedule gets a lot harder in the second half of the year.
6-7. And that's not even guaranteeing they're going to win. Then they got to go to US Bank Stadium, 6-8. The Lions come to town, 6-9. It's just here come the Seahawks, maybe 7-9, and then you got the Packers at Lambeau Field to end the season 7-10.
Well, the thing is, if let's say they go 8-9,
and that's counting if they win this weekend.
Yeah, which is who knows, right? Look at the effort they rolled out against the Cardinals last week. If the Bears go 8-9, 9-8. There's a world in which that's fine. That's actually not a bad first season for Caleb Williams. It's how it's looked. Like they weren't competitive against Arizona last weekend. And they can't. Have you ever seen Eberflus's road numbers? I'm going to try to pull up a number. They don't win on the road.
No, he has never won on the road.
Ever. And
they're like 0-18.
I think like maybe he has like a Thursday or Monday night win. I'm going to try to pull it up now, but his road versus home splits are astounding. And that's got to be a measurement of coaching, right?
Right.
How you lead your guys to travel, to stay focused, to do all those things, to play in a hostile environment. He's terrible at it.
Right. It's man, I'll tell you this, as a Packers fan, I sure just kind of, roll my eyes and feel comfortable as to where we're at. That's for damn sure. But yeah, I was just listening to them just skewer him and the whole organization yesterday, just mercilessly about how bad things suck.
I think at this point it's got to be an ownership thing. And Packers fans, this is foreign to us. We're bad at talking about ownership and the impact that it has on a football team, right? But when you're never willing to empty the checkbook to get Harbaugh or Ben Johnson, or let's say Vrabel comes available, like the Bears are just never going to be playing in that arena, or they never have before. They go with the Matt Eberfluses of the world. By the way, he's 14-27 overall in his career. 0-16 on Sunday playing on the road. So I think like a couple Thursday night or Monday night games, they've gotten some wins.
Yeah.
But they don't travel well. It's not like they're unbelievable at home. They're middling at home too. Right. They're just capable of winning some games at home, unlike the road.
Yeah. It's just it's a mess. So I took a lot of pleasure in it. That was my drive down to dinner last night, taking a lot of A lot of pleasure. So, by the way, Brad and Sturgeon Bay, hey, Bill, Caleb Williams will be the third quarterback in a row that's going to have a second head coach, second offensive coordinator in his second year starting. Bears did it with Trubisky. Then again, with Justin Fields, I guess the mess with Caleb Williams will eventually be traded to the Steelers. Bears are just a dumpster fire of an organization. Happy Friday. There you have it.
Do we agree that Caleb Williams is a much better prospect and player than those two guys? Because I do.
Yes. I think he brings a more versatility. He's got a better arm than Fields. He's got more mobility than both of them. I take that back. I think Justin Fields is a better athlete, better runner.
As a passer, he's more mobile than Fields.
But a passer, mobility-wise, on the run, he's better than Fields was. But where the development of a great quarterback becomes evident is between years.
Sure.
And Mitch Trubisky couldn't figure it out. Justin Fields, he's limited in what? Now, I'm not saying he's limited in smarts. He's just limited in ability. He's not a great thrower. He's just not. And then you see Caleb Williams, and he's already got the yips because they're talking about his technique. I was watching a breakdown on the NFL Network yesterday of his bouncing footwork and how he's just looking to be hit and looking to run. His first thing is, I'll look, and then I'm running.
Well, his mechanics weren't perfect coming into the year. Pressure in his lap, certainly for the first 9 games, hasn't helped. That's only made it worse.
So it's been kind of a problematic thing. And well, I got to admit, as a Packers fan, you kind of take a little bit of pleasure in it.
Of course, I think the Bears had to get it perfect to win with Trubisky, and they did for a year, where everything lined up around him. And I think with Fields, they really had to be perfect. I don't know that they need to be perfect around Caleb Williams. They just have to be more competent than this,
right?
As a coaching staff and as an offensive,
and they've got a good defense.
Yeah,
their defense is solid. It's not like their defense is bad. It's just their defense is solid. It's just they just can't seem to get out of their own way at times, and nothing really progresses markedly better. So
that might be the game that weirdly it's probably going to be a crummy game. That's one of the games I'm most excited for on Sunday. Drake May versus Caleb Williams.
RM says, would you take Williams over Love? No, I wouldn't, because I think Jordan Love is the complete package. And he just has to be. He's still Jordan. And you shouldn't say this for a guy that was sat behind a Hall of Famer for 3 years, but he's still got some rawness to him. But I think no. I would say no. I would take Love over Williams. And like I said, I think the learning process for Jordan Love was fantastic because he sat behind a guy who could read the matrix. As much as we kind of rip, Rodgers for a lot of things, the guy's brilliant when it comes to being able to read defenses. The problem is he has his own biases, and his biases and maybe himself has gotten in the way of that. But when it comes to understanding and reading defenses and knowing where to throw the ball, he is top notch. So sitting behind a guy like that for that 3 years, I think did Jordan Love a world of good. Just my opinion. But yeah, I just think Caleb Williams it's not all the time. It's not the talent you draft, but the guy who developed the talent. And it might just be the organization top to bottom. All right, let's do this. We're going to step out. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back, get calls, thoughts, all that kind of stuff. And then I want to go back to, why my former friends, I guess, when I left Cincinnati back in 1999, and I made a prediction, and it's held true, and then I watched it again last night come true, and people are mad at me for it. So I'm going to tell you about it when we come back. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Point Brewing. Point Brewing, brewing excellence since 1857, whether it's the Amber Lager last night, was down at a place called Charlie's. They had Cider Boys First Press on draft. Had a glass of that last night. Enjoyed that, my one and only. But it was fantastic to kind of feel and taste fall again. Was enjoying it and loving it. That's our friends at Point Brewing. Brewing excellence since 1857.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network. The kick is up and wide left.
Why don't they customize the goalposts?
Gina Della from Pella, how'd you get into the booth?
No, listen. If they made our goalposts just a little wider, and why just yellow? It's Green Bay. Add some green stripes.
Sure, Gina. Should they also remove the G at midfield and paint a Pella crest?
Okay, Wayne, I get it. You can't customize a football game to go the way you want, but Pella can customize your home the way you want. From durable materials and fold-away hardware to custom colors and ease of maintenance, backed by quality craftsmanship, energy efficiency, and warranties that will last for years.
And this has got to be the Pella Dagger.
Right now, get 0% interest for up to 60 months at PellaWI.com. Okay, now I've got popcorn and soda.
Right here.
$22.50, please.
Too bad we can't customize concession prices.
That's it. You got this, partner? I'm out of here.
Hold your appointment on or before November 8th. Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Really, man, come on. 6 o'clock news says somebody been shot. Somebody's been abused. Somebody blew up a building. Somebody stole a car.
Welcome back. Bill Michaels Show.
Somebody didn't get too far.
Good day to you. We made it to Friday. Happy about that. Made it to Friday. And, we did not in any way, shape, or form even begin to recognize when we began the show today. We didn't recognize Kate, who is sitting back in the studio today, kind of running the show last minute. Kate dressed up today.
Hey, y'all.
She's not wearing like a triple X jacket with the business bun and the hat and looking like she just came out of a homeless camp. That's nice.
Yeah, I woke up this morning, had a little bit of time. I actually had a little job to do earlier, so now I'm here. And I am not wearing my Packers coat because they lost. So I will not be bringing that out again.
Okay. Oh, so you're like superstitious. Now you play sports, so you're superstitious in that sense.
A little bit superstitious,
okay.
Yes.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that. So do you step on the line when you walk onto the court?
I don't have a lot of superstitions while I'm playing because I feel like those are distracting. But before the games, after the games, things I'm wearing, that's for sure.
Okay. Yeah, when I stepped onto the field, I never stepped on the line until I had to. And I always shoes on the same way, dressed the same way, got ready the same way, same rituals all the time, And if I had a bad game, I would change one thing up.
Okay.
And then if I played better in the next game, I'd continue to do what I changed up. And if I didn't play better, then I'd go back to my original ritual in a comfort zone.
I think that's good strategy.
Yeah.
I was a runner and a swimmer. I guess I had one. You always, when you put on the tight swimsuit for the race, you always tuck to the same side. That was a ritual.
Jesus.
I always go right. Makes sense with how you flip turn.
Happy Friday.
It's a bye week.
Oh, we're starting early. We're starting early today.
I was tucked to the same side. That was the only thing.
Oh, my God. There is a whole lot of nothing we didn't need to know right there. I'll tell you that right now. I don't care who you are.
I'm just saying.
God.
Why do you guys get to talk about your superstitions? I don't get to talk about mine.
Oh.
That's not fair.
No, I just never expected that. There's a lot of superstitions that I had, but, never did that.
Well, there's no line to avoid stepping on, so we have to make our own superstitions.
You're stepping on it.
It's tradition.
That's the whole thing.
It's tradition. You tuck so you don't step on it. That's exactly right.
Oh, my God. Okay, we have hit the iceberg.
I was so glad to have Thursday Night Football back on last night. I was going insane the last 2 nights. We finally had an actual game.
Yeah,
was that
I watched
best Thursday night of the year. Probably. It's gotta be.
God, probably. That might have been the best Thursday night of the year.
It's amazing when you don't put the Jets or the Giants on national TV.
Yeah,
it goes
that
pretty
was.
good.
Well, you had the 27-20 win to start the season off with the Ravens and the Chiefs.
That's right, the season opener.
You had was a blowout week 2 because the Bills were taking on the Dolphins. Remember, the Jets beat the Patriots. You had a really lackluster Cowboys-Giants game.
There was one involving the Falcons the night the Brewers blew it.
Falcons and Buccaneers, 36-30.
I watched that game, but I don't remember any of it because I was so sad.
Falcons and Buccaneers, 36-30 down in Atlanta. Trying to think if there was another one along the way or not. We did take a little bit of pleasure in watching the Vikings get beat.
Oh, yeah, that was fun. That was
getting beat by the Rams.
Yeah, that was a good game. There have been some pretty good Thursday night games this year. I'm not going to complain about Thursday night football. They've been pretty good.
So you had that.
Helps to put Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson on TV.
Oh, God, yeah.
Were you hung up on the officiating at the end?
No, because they're going to let them play.
Yeah, I just...
if it's... What was more egregious wasn't necessarily what everybody in Cincinnati was complaining about was the pass interference call they wanted and the hit to Joe Burrow. It was the holding call on the other tight end.
Yeah.
He was mugged. I mean, he was like literally spinning around, throwing his hands in the air, and his jersey was completely straight. I mean, that was the obvious call. And to me, that was more egregious than it was the pass interference that everybody wanted.
Yeah, I heard the little rant from Al Michaels, who's like, way too many games end this way. Controversy. I'm like, well, if we look for it, and guess what? If games come down to the wire, which we all love when games come down to the wire, you're always going to be able to find something like that to nitpick about. So I don't know. I feel like sometimes we make the officials a bigger part of the story than they need to be. And then we act like the officiating is so bad. It's like, well, if you just take a deep breath and don't make it a big deal for the most part. I think it's usually fine.
I also look at it this way, that you had 2 guys on the Joe Burrow run. That is the highlight where he drops back 30 yards and then takes off running and brings it down to the 1. 2 defenders who literally were turned around running the wrong way, getting blocked because they couldn't get off a block. Had they hit him, it's a field goal. It's not a touchdown. And the game changes. You win the game. So, I mean, I've always said you don't want to let it come down to a referee's call or non-call, but that defense is pathetic. All they had to do was just put the clamps on, and they couldn't do it. Giving up 21 points in the fourth quarter is 28 in the second half is ridiculous.
Well, and do you think it's probably not fair to ask you if you think less of the Ravens today, but there was a moment in that fourth quarter when the Ravens went up and then the Bengals were going to have one more shot. It's like, man, if this Ravens defense, if this team can be a contender, if they can be a Super Bowl team, I'd really like to see them get a stop here.
That's the knock on the Ravens, is their defense isn't as good as it needs to be.
Yeah.
And that's why when you look at them coming down and playing, say, Kansas City's got a lockdown defense. They got a really good defense. But the problem is you got to wait and see what's going to happen as far as the emergence of DeAndre Hopkins and how that offense is going to flow. Because if then that gets going and Patrick Mahomes' numbers start to elevate, then you've got to give it back to the Kansas City Chiefs. I think the Baltimore Ravens are still the best team in the AFC because they've got such an incredibly dynamic offense and they can control the clock with Derrick Henry. But man, what I saw last night. But also, it's Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Gesicki. I mean, they've got weapons, and so they exploited them. I don't think the Kansas City Chiefs have that same. Remember, Cincinnati lost to Kansas City, but in the same fashion.
Mm-hmm.
They lost because we won this game yesterday, right? On our picks?
Yeah, because we both picked Bengals to cover, right?
To cover, yeah. So,
which is why it was like, please don't go to overtime. Please don't go to overtime.
Right. So, I looked at because Cincinnati barely lost to Kansas City. Cincinnati barely lost to the Ravens now twice this season. They just, don't forget the opener, they got beat by the Patriots. The Patriots came in and knocked them off, which was astounding. They lost 26-25 to Kansas City in Kansas City. They're close. They just they got beat by on Monday night. Jaden Daniels beat them 38-33 in that amazing game.
And we all thought, oh, that's such a bad loss for the Bengals. But now looking back, it's like, right. The Commanders are actually awesome. That's just that's a loss to a really good team.
So Cincinnati's come close, but no cigar. They beat the Panthers. So they knocked the Panthers off. They got beat, like I said, 41-38 by the Ravens. What was the other one that was relatively close? They beat the Giants. The Giants was a bad game.
They got blasted by the Eagles, didn't they?
Yes, they lost to they beat the Browns. They beat the Browns. What was the other one? There was another one here that I'm kind of looking for, and I can't find it. Oh yeah, they got blasted by the Eagles at home. So yeah, and then they trounced the Raiders. But the games against the teams that they would be going against in the postseason that they need to win, they haven't been able to win.
But if you were to ask a Chiefs fan or a Ravens fan, there's a playoff game next week and you're playing the Bengals, they'd go.
They wouldn't want to do it.
They'd go, damn it.
They wouldn't want to do it because you figure you're only a player or two away from losing those games.
Which, by the way, that's why the NFL is awesome. Like, I think I agree with you that the Ravens are probably the best team in the AFC. Doesn't mean I'd pick them to go to the Super Bowl and win the conference, but I think they're the best team. And you can turn on a game on a random Thursday night. Oh, here come the 3-6, or I guess the 4 and 5 Bengals, and it's going to come down to the final play. Like, that's why the NFL is awesome. That's why we love it.
Let's do this. We're going to step away. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We got a lot more to get to today. Just talking a lot of NFL stuff in general. Stick around. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show all coming up. We got more after this.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. Bill Michaels Show. We continue on this Friday. We made it to Friday. Always good. Get to the end of the week. Got high school football back in the air tonight. By the way, speaking if you're getting out in the air and going and enjoying yourself, you may want to do it in a brand new RV or something you picked up that is brand new to you, or you're going to start looking for the RVer on your Christmas list. That is Marquardt, Marquart, Marquardt RV, whether it's Tiffin Motorhomes, Alliance RVs, Jayco, Toby Hines, whatever it happens to be, Marquardt's got something for everybody. 7 locations in the state of Wisconsin. Buying power, my friends, buying power. And they really, really, really do really take a lot of pride in their customer service. These people are great to work with, and if you get treated half as good as we've been treated, then you will walk away going, that is the absolute best place to deal with and the best people to deal with. That is Marquardt RV, Marquart, Marquardt RV. Go to marquartrv.com. I got some over on the mixer line, which is the text line, and this is from Cassidy, who says, the best team in the NFC right now is fill in the blank. In the NFC, I'd say the Lions. I don't know how you could argue that. First of all, there's nobody undefeated right now in the NFC. They have the least amount of losses in the NFC. They have played a pretty strong schedule, the Lions have, because of what they did last year. They beat the Rams. They lost by 4 to the Buccaneers. That was a little bit of an odd one inside Ford Field. They went on the road and beat the Cardinals. They've beaten the Seahawks. Although beating the Cowboys now, and they didn't beat the Cowboys. They made a statement against the Cowboys going into U.S. Bank Stadium and beating the Vikings when the Vikings were hot at 5-0. That was an impressive win. The Titans, coming into Green Bay, beating the Packers the way they did, 24-14. That was a good win. Now they've got the Texans. The Jaguars are still on their schedule. The Colts are still on their schedule. The Bears. Then they got the Packers, Bills, Bears, 49ers, Vikings. They don't have an easy schedule down the stretch. The Packers should be over 500. The Bills will be over 500. The 49ers should be over 500. And the Vikings, again, would most likely will be over 500 in the season. So there's some possibilities for some losses there. But unless they lose, say, to the Texans, and the Texans game, by the way, is not an easy pushover by any stretch. That's the Sunday night game coming up this weekend. So that game's not an easy game. So if they lose, say they split with the Bears, say the Bears just get them, just because it's so tough to win in the division, and say they lose to the Texans, lose to the Bills, and the Packers beat them once. That's 5 losses. That's 5 losses. The only, I don't see them losing to the 49ers on the road unless the 49ers are completely healthy. But that's 5 losses that would be on the season for the Lions. So, again, you look at where they're at right now, Lions would be, 12-5? Which means the Packers could only lose 2 more games along the way. What would be the games that they would lose? Because the Packers have the ability, they should beat the Bears.
I was going to say, that's not completely and totally impossible, especially with what we saw last year. They
got the 49ers coming to town next week, or in 2 weeks, I should say. Then the Dolphins, that's the Thursday night game. That's a tough game to go from the 49ers to the Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins not nearly as good a team, but you got the 49ers on that Sunday. At least you're at home and you don't have to travel.
You get the Dolphins in the cold. Or coldish. Or colder. Anything colder than 50 is cold for that team.
So if you can get the 49ers, get the Dolphins, then you go to Ford Field. Then you got 10 days to get ready for that Lions game. So maybe that bodes well. The game that I can see being problematic, you got to go to Seattle and go to Minnesota. That would be your 2 losses allowed. Because then you'd have to beat the Bears, beat the Saints. And I only say Seattle because just going to Seattle has always been a house of horrors. The only other game that I can see them losing would be the 49ers, and that's only for the fact that Shanahan's kind of had LaFleur's number. But it's not out of the realm of possibility if they start playing the way they're capable of playing.
You know what? I think it's totally doable if they get the 49ers and Dolphins right in a row.
Right. I would agree.
If they can go back-to-back those 4 days, then I think we can feel pretty good going through the rest of the season there.
I would feel good. Like I said, the only couple that really bother me, U.S. Bank Stadium's not easy, and neither is going into Ford Field. But for whatever reason, the Packers just tend to, when they have 10 days to get ready for a game like that. Now, again, Dan Campbell's had his team fired up for the Green Bay Packers, and they played like it, but I think the Packers can beat them. I think the Packers can beat the Vikings just playing on the road, and it always scares me.
Tough places to play, but they go there every year.
Right.
And they won both of their games at US Bank and Ford Field last year. So it doesn't make it an easy place to play. It's just I don't think the Packers go there and are surprised or caught off guard like an out of division team might be in those stadiums.
Kenny said, who's got the best offensive line right now? The best offensive line in the NFL or in the division or in the NFC? If I had to say in the NFC, I think it's Detroit. Detroit has done nothing but stockpile good talent over there, and they really didn't need to do too much with their offensive line. It was their defensive secondary that they needed to bolster. And then they put, now I don't know how Zadarius Smith is going to play, but if you look everywhere Zadarius has gone, his first year in every organization is his best year. And then after that, he kind of, slows down. So I'm going to be anxious to see how he plays for the Lions, because he didn't come in with the Lions this year. It was the trade. So what he is what he is right now. So we'll see if he gets any better, just because he's going to a team that actually has chance and hope and has a way about him. And he's kind of that verbose guy that Dan Campbell likes. And as long as he's producing, he's walking the walk. But it's when he stops producing and he's still being over the top, but he's becoming louder with his voice than he is with his play. That's when he begins to wear on people. But Skinny from Madison, so many speculative outcomes on the conversation. Let's talk Badgers. Fickle have the ability for any upsets. Talk Badgers, really? No.
You're complaining about speculative, and now you're like, well, can Fickle pull an upset? That's way more speculative.
No, they like what upset? Would an upset be? Because what do they got? They got 3 games left. They got Oregon, Nebraska, and Minnesota. Oregon, no. Nebraska's going to play them tough. I mean, if for as tough as Nebraska has played, they just haven't had the wins to put upon it. But they've been a more competitive team. And I hate to say it, but this might be the year that the Paul Bunyan axe goes back to Minnesota the way they're playing. They've gotten better as the season has gone along.
It's probably PJ Fleck's best year with Minnesota.
Yeah, short of maybe his first year?
Well, they hosted College Game Day that one time. Yeah. Remember, and that was a big deal.
Right.
I guess they did do that one time.
Yeah, that was, I think it was first year when they did the whole row the boat. And
they beat USC.
Yeah.
Wisconsin was embarrassed by USC after giving them after getting a 2-quarter head start.
Yep. Weird. And, yeah. That just pains me. Our buddy Steve says, Grant just gave me a whole new meaning of how we looking. Oh, going back to the, I can't revisit that.
No, probably best leave that one in the podcast.
Can't do that. Oh my goodness. This is Jason said, if we have to talk about football and what if, can we just talk about the Bucs and the Bucs getting a win last night? How big was it? Well, in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't a big win. You beat Utah. But in the grand scheme of snapping the losing streak, it was huge. If they would have lost to Utah, like I said, I would have just made that a Kris Kringle shop and finished their season. For the Bucs to get that win, I'll take it. But they still got a long, long, long way to go before you can suddenly start to believe in what they have going on. But then again, maybe getting a win like that last night, where you get everybody involved, Giannis is back and things are flowing, and maybe a game like that kind of gets you off the schneid a little bit. But I still think that Doc Rivers has a massive amount of coaching to do if the ears are open and listening, willing to listen. Because you go through the defensive analytics, that team doesn't play it. And if you go back to the day that they won it with PJ Tucker and Drew Holiday, and you look at the defensive analytics, and remember that was when Brook Lopez was really, really playing incredible ball. And I think 2 years ago was his best season for Brook Lopez, because he had a tremendous season 2 years ago, and his numbers have kind of fallen a little bit since. But they had defenders. They had a rim protector. They had a guy that was scrappy. They had a guy that you basically said, go get him, and that was Drew Holiday. Put him on your best man. All of that you looked at and you said, okay, everything's right. They don't have they've got a good offense because they're going to get theirs, but they don't have transition bucket guy. They don't have their defense does not convert into offense nearly enough.
Well, and that's why Andre Jackson Jr. starting, he was really fun to watch. He played excellent perimeter defense and created some of those opportunities. I think the Bucs have got to decide on your big picture commentary with Doc Rivers and the defense. I think this group needs to decide, are we okay coasting off our championship a couple of years ago, or are we going to do what the Warriors have been doing? The Warriors look like they're back. Like, it would be so easy for Kerr and Curry and those guys to just say, we proved it even without Durant in 2022. But they went into Boston the other night and got a win. They're defending hard. They're playing hard. Like, I
was surprised at that win.
I was shocked, especially because the Celtics are all upset at Kerr because they didn't play Tatum in the Olympics. Remember that? So he's getting booed. Like, I just think these Bucs players need to make a conscious decision. Like, are we going to fight to keep this window open, even though it's a little bit of an uphill battle, or are we just kind of content? And I think that's going to dictate the way that this team shapes up over the season.
877-867-1670. You want to hit us up, please feel free. Go ahead and give us a shout. 877-867-1670. Find us. We'd love to hear from you. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Cousin Subs. Cousin Subs, they believe in better. The pepperoni melt, extra mayo, extra cheese. Fantastic. As a matter of fact, on the way out to the football game tonight, that might be what I go and grab. Just to have something in me before I get out to the Grafton High School tonight to watch them take on Notre Dame. But that being said, the shakes, the fries, all good. The Philly cheesesteak, the turkeys. If you want to go light, you can. All kinds of different bread to put it on. That is our friends at Cousin Subs, based right here in the state of Wisconsin. Cousin Subs, where they believe in better.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Coming up Sunday, I got to admit, I'm not doing anything. I have got in my future, I'm going to head down to Robert's Specialty Meats tomorrow, and I'm going to do a tenderloin or an Al Capone roast, one of the two, and slow cook it. Might even smoke it coming up on Sunday, and then Sunday about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 o'clock, somewhere in there. When the afternoon game gets going, that's dinner. I'm just to say I'm not doing anything this weekend. We got the game tonight. We got a charity event that we're going to tomorrow out in Cedarburg, and then a dinner on Saturday night, but that's not like late. And then Sunday, nothing. Just football, smoking some meat, a little bit of veggie. Smoking meat. And probably, well, depending on what the temperature is, it's supposed to rain on Sunday. If it was like 35 degrees and rainy with wind and just one of those raw days, I'd probably build a fire. But,
in the house, you mean?
Yeah, in the house.
That's right.
But if it was, it's supposed to be, I think, like 62 and rain.
57 and rain, I see.
57?
55 and cloudy tomorrow.
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Could be prime territory for a fire. You don't strike me as someone that it needs to be 15 degrees before you turn the heat on.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Quick trigger finger on the heat.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all. I mean, it's one of the reasons I bought the house, because of the fireplace down there in the great room. Not to mention it's a big screen TV and you kick back in the chairs and you're just good to go. So, but that's my day. Going down to Robert's Specialty Meats. Robert's Specialty Meats, Waukesha.com. Robert's Specialty Meats, Waukesha.com on Sunset Drive in Waukesha. So if you're not tailgating this weekend, that's okay. Do what I'm doing. Go down and get yourself. Plus, you can order right now. You can order your turkeys for Thanksgiving, and you can already pre-order your hams and turkeys for the holidays. So he wanted me to let everybody know that as well. So that's our friends at Robert's Specialty Meats in Waukesha. Stop down and say hello. Here's a question for you. And this, I was reading a story on CBS, and it talks about difference makers for the second half. You look at who is going to kind of propel their teams in the second half of the season. And it goes through a lot of different players that I can get into. I mean, the addition of DeAndre Hopkins over to Kansas City and what he's going to end up doing, and Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers is having a tremendous season. I mean, if you look at Derrick Henry and what he's done, obviously Lamar Jackson's already right now kind of the odds-on favorite to win the MVP halfway through the season because of the numbers he's putting up. But Zay Flowers is a big part of that. You look at a guy like Jalen Carter in Philadelphia, who has just gone off when it comes to pressuring quarterbacks and the numbers that he's putting up. Although Cincinnati's defense sucks, Trey Hendrickson is fantastic. He's just, it's been unbelievable to watch that guy play. He's just doing it by himself. The other guy, that Kirby Joseph, in the secondary for the Lions, he's got more touchdowns returned than he does given up. Yeah, he's got one return for a touchdown. He has not given up a touchdown this season, and the quarterback passer rating against him is 14.5. He's been unbelievable in the secondary. There's TJ Hawkinson, just added back to the roster in Minnesota because he's coming back from that knee injury. Could he be the guy that helps them get over the top, that adds another layer to that offense? You look at a guy like, say, Austin Eckler with the Commanders, and Jaden Daniels obviously having a bunch of success there, and what they can do with the run game. So all of that. So my question is, if you take, and this is tough, but if you take Jordan Love out of it, who needs to be the difference maker, or who are you going to look at as the difference maker for the Packers to elevate this team in the second half of the season? Think about that, because and this is my pick. And it's easy because it just happened. My pick is going to be Lucas Van Ness. Lucas Van Ness. Because if Lucas Van Ness turns out to be the guy that they thought he was when they drafted him, then he's going to be a guy that propels this team defensively to a different level. If it's not Lucas Van Ness, then maybe it could be, say Kingsley Angabari or Brenton Cox, whatever that position then begins to hold. But if I had to take a guess, I'm not going to go with the offense. I'm going to go with Lucas Van Ness, my 1A and 1B. My 1B would then be Edgerrin Cooper. Those two guys. If Lucas Van Ness performs the way they hope he can, and pressure on quarterbacks begins between him and Rashawn Gary, and then you throw Cooper up the middle, and you start getting pressure on quarterbacks, that's going to help Jair. That's going to help Valentine, McKinney, all the guys in the secondary. And that will then propel the Packers defensively to climb in those rankings where we want them to be near top 10 and thus be a top 10 defense and get them wins in the season.
Well, it's all connected up there, because if Van Ness becomes a problem, that makes life easier on Rashawn Gary. Now they're both pressuring the quarterback, and don't look now, but Kenny Clark has an easier shot up the middle.
Yeah.
Like, it all is just so connected. And I'm kind of waiting for the first guy to really get hot along that defensive front, because when that happens, I think everything else could kind of fall into place. That's my pick.
Brett says, I think it has to be Kenny Clark or Rashawn Gary. Got one over here, and this is off. Joe says, for my pick, it would be Xavier McKinney to continue what he's done in the first half of the season. He has been the defensive leader thus far. Brady says he thinks it's got to be Jordan Love. Better decision-making and coming back completely healthy in the second half is going to make the biggest difference for this team. Keep the defense off the field by using the offense. Adam says it's going to be Josh Jacobs and utilizing the run game and picking up first downs and keeping the defense off the field. It seems like everybody thinks that the defense is this massive Achilles heel. So, Kate, who I got to ask you, because Rick says they don't want you to get bored. They're watching you. Kate, who do you think needs to be a step-up X factor?
Yeah, I'm thinking that we need a little bit of help on the offensive end. I think the defense, if they play poorly, I mean, yeah, we're going to struggle, of course, but maybe Jaden Reed or Romeo Dobbs. Yeah. I mean, Jordan Love needs some help, and he needs, obviously, decision-making. But if he's going to heat up, he's got to have someone to throw to. So I'm going to go with one of the wide receivers.
All right. I can live with that. And it's not a bad, there's no wrong answer here. That's the other thing. Let's see here. I want to go through the team report real quick. I wanted to go through the offense. And when you look at let's see, the best offensive player the Green Bay Packers have right now, take a guess who the best offensive player they have overall ranked by Pro Football Focus.
Zach Tom?
He's 2.
Oh, at least I was close.
2. He's 2.
Would it be Josh Jacobs?
Josh Jacobs, number 1. Josh Jacobs, number 1. Jaden Reed is number 5. Jordan Love is number 6. Then it goes down from there. Let's see here. Josh Myers is rated 22nd out of 24. 22nd. Dontavia Wicks rated 19. I'm trying to look here to see who I would say that if they step up their performance, this is going to be a really solid. I was surprised to see Tucker Kraft at 13, right in the middle. Tucker Kraft at 13. Romeo Doubs actually ranks lower than Christian Watson. Believe it or not. If Romeo, and go back to what Kate just said, Jaden Reed and Romeo Doubs, I'd go with Romeo Doubs on the offensive side. If Romeo Doubs steps up and Christian Watson begins to open up, things really begin to get good for the Packers. Did you know that when it comes to leading the team in penalties right now on the offensive side, Rasheed Walker, who we all know struggled at the beginning of the season, he's got 7 of them this season.
He's settled in a little bit though, hasn't he? Yeah.
The last couple of games, it's been minimal.
Yeah, he's been pretty good.
Elton Jenkins has 5. Zach Tom has 5. Tucker Kraft has 3. This is what surprised me. Romeo Doubs has 3.
Dude,
Malik Heath has 3.
Some of these pre-snap penalties, they're skill position players.
Yeah.
Like I get a left tackle jumping off sides if you got Myles Garrett bearing down on you, but these wide receivers have lost focus. They're getting movement before the snap. It drives me nuts.
What's amazing is Jaden Reed has not a penalty to his name this season. Nothing. Yeah, not a penalty to his name. Like Jordan Love has 1. That's a holding penalty. Christian Watson has 1 downfield, a holding penalty. Jordan Morgan just has 1. Jordan Morgan, for the amount of snaps he has, he only has 1. He's got 186 total snaps so far this season as a rookie. Only has 1 holding penalty. That's it. And now I think it was against the Lions. And for as bad as Dontavian Wicks has been with the drops, he only has 1 blocking penalty downfield, where it was a holding penalty. So we got an hour down. We got 3 more yet to go. Don't forget, final hour of the program is going to be filled with Mike Clemens. We got a lot of good stuff, a lot of good just chatter today, stuff today, conversation. We all need beverages today. There you go. It's that kind of day. We're pouring for everybody. There you go. It's that kind of day. More of the Bill Michaels Show. Hour number 2 coming up next.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, Wisconsin basketball has moved to 2-0 on the season. That's after beating Montana State last night, 79-67 at the Kohl Center. Max Klesmit tied his career high for points, finishing with 26, including hitting 6 3-pointers. John Tanji and John Blackwell also chipped in 13 each. Here's more from head coach Greg Gard on their win.
A good win against a good team that's experienced. You could really tell the maturity of the older guys for them on the floor. Anytime we made a mistake on a screen, it was a 3 in the first half. I thought that those things will help us. But I like the maturity of our guys down the stretch as we opened up a lead in the second. Did good things on both ends of the floor.
Up next for the Badgers, the host Appalachian State on Sunday. Turning to the Bucks, their 6-game losing streak is over as Damian Lillard scored 34 points. Giannis Antetokounmpo had 31 as the Deer would beat the Utah Jazz 123-100. The Bucks now sit 2-6 on the year. That's good for 13th in the Eastern Conference, and they're back at it tonight as they head to New York to face the Knicks.
ABC of Wisconsin is the largest apprenticeship program in the state, with more than 2,000 active apprentices in 12 different skilled trades. In the ABC apprenticeship program, you earn while you learn on the job, get paid to go to class, and graduate with a job in your craft, but without the huge college debt. Explore 12 different construction trades in one spot at buildyourcareerwi.org or just search online for ABC of Wisconsin.
Both the Packers and the Badgers are on bye this weekend. Green Bay sits 6-3 on the year, and they'll take on the Bears at Soldier Field next Sunday. And Wisconsin will have their hands full next Saturday as they host the number one team in the country, the Oregon Ducks, at Camp Randall for a 6:30 kick. For the Wisconsin Sports Zone Network, I'm Ebo.
Welcome in, hour number 2 of the Bill Michaels Show. So glad to have you. Glad you're on board with us today. Bill Michaels Show on this Friday. No Packers game this weekend. Bucks got a win last night. No Badger game this weekend, so we all get to kind of sit back, relax, watch football come to us a little bit with maybe no rooting interests, unless, of course, you're rooting, for the Lions to get beat or the Vikings to get beat. But beyond that, or the Bears for that matter. But beyond that, just a kind of kick back, relax kind of weekend. We get a chance to breathe a little bit. So enjoying that and getting ready for all of this, plus high school football and the playoffs coming up tonight in the WIAA. So good stuff there as well. We were talking about, before we went to break, about, people that kind of need to step up. And Kate brings up, you look at, Jaden Reed and Romeo Dobbs and such. And one of the things that I thought, well, let's go and look at the team as a whole when it comes to the wide receiver position. Who leads the team in drops? Take a pick. Tell me who you think.
Jaden Reed.
Jaden Reed. You are correct. He has 7 drops on the season.
He's close to the top of the NFL.
Yeah.
And he gets a lot of volume. He worked, so that's part of it, of course, but he's dropped a lot of passes this year.
He is also one of the highest yards after the catch guys. One of the highest yards after the catch guys so far this season for him. So he's got 7 drops. We all know Wicks has had problems. Wicks has 6. After that, it goes down to next to nothing. Romeo Dobbs has had 3. Tucker Kraft had 2. Chris Brooks had 1, and then that's it.
Watson doesn't have any on the year, I don't think.
No.
And it depends on which database. I was looking at Fantasy Pros, but you said Pro Football Focus had him at 0 too, right?
He's got him at 0. Here's the thing with Christian Watson is that there are balls that he has gotten his hands on that he hasn't ripped down. He's allowed defenders. His biggest knock is not necessarily the drops. It's he doesn't fight hard enough or have position. We did an interview at Super Bowl. I think it was 2 years ago with Randy Moss. And it was like 5 years ago now that I think about it, because it was in Miami. So it was Moss and Jordy Nelson. And I had both of them on back to back in Miami. And Moss talked about the connection Rodgers had with Jordy Nelson in regards to the back shoulder throw and then the kind of leaning out of bounds throws. And Randy Moss was talking about downfield throws. And I was asking him, what's more difficult, to keep your toes on the line and fall out of bounds, or to have a ball to go get at the apex? And he said he didn't, obviously what he does is different than what Jordy does. So what he does became the more difficult. And I said, well, why? And he said, because you have to figure out how to fight for a ball to have body position. You have to when you jump into the air, you have to keep your leg out. I'm like, well, you don't think about this. He says you keep your leg out, that keeps the defender off of you. Because no matter how far your leg is out, if you're in the air, the more they push you, you still have the same amount of gap between you and the defender. And he said, so you got to keep your leg out, like a knee up, when you jump into the air, so they can't get close to you. Because if they're close to you, then it gives them the ability to pull the ball down at the same time. And that's where he excelled. And Christian Watson doesn't have that. He's always falling away from the ball, especially an underthrown ball. He's falling away from a ball when a defender has the ability to go straight up. And that's always been one of the things that I look at Christian Watson-wise to say, if he can figure that out with his speed, honestly, he could become a really, really good wide receiver. It's just whether or not he ever figures it out.
We used to play Ultimate Frisbee all the time in high school and in college, a lot of the guys that I ran cross country and track with. And I was one of the taller ones. We had some guys who were good leapers and stuff, but there was this one guy on the team who wasn't the tallest, wasn't the fastest, but on these throws that would go way down the field, you would just always turn around and he'd be in the exact right spot to catch it. Right. He wouldn't have to jump over anyone because he could just read it and be in the perfect spot. And I think that's maybe where Christian Watson could get a little better. Jaden Reed's not that tall, but you saw the way that he fielded that deep pass in LA. He just put himself in the perfect spot because he read it perfectly. Christian Watson, when he's had opportunities to go up and get a ball, he's actually done relatively okay. It's that he misreads it, or he's not in a position to try to go up and get it. He's got to get better at reading it.
That deep pass that he had against the Lions where he just stopped.
Yeah,
it's like, what are you looking at?
He thought it was underthrown, and to be fair to Christian Watson, Jordan Love has underthrown Christian Watson many times over the last year, but he just lost it in the lights, or again, just misread it in the sky and didn't give himself a chance.
Does that lead us to believe, because for a long time we talked about the ability for Jordan Love to drop it in the bucket. Does that then lead us to believe that maybe Christian Watson is more to blame than the quarterback? Because maybe he doesn't read passes in the air real well. Depth perception becomes an issue.
Maybe. I also think that when did Christian Watson and Jordan Love get on the same page last year? When they had a bunch of games under their belt. And when Watson was in the lineup consistently.
Right.
And to the point, and I played the soundbite from Matt Collar yesterday for my show, it's like it's really hard to get that stuff dialed in. You know, cadences before the snap, or maybe the intricacies of those deep passes when Jordan Love's been in and out of the lineup.
Right.
And then Christian Watson missed a little time too. So I think that's something that you hope gets better after the bye in the second half, that deep ball connection, them reading each other.
By the way, if you are a Lions fan, the Texans have designated the wide receiver Nico Collins to come back from the IR. So he will be in action, they believe, this weekend. So you got CJ Stroud getting yet another weapon back for this weekend's game against the Detroit Lions. So that also, thought I'd throw that out there. Which, as an interested, sitting here a little bit biased Packers fan, that's not bad news for Packers fans. Hopefully the Houston Texans can pull off the upset. 877-867-1670. Want to hit us up? Feel free. 877-867-1670. Find us. Also, when you look at, say, the pass blocking so far this year, the best pass blocker on this team, which we talk about blocking in the rock, Tucker Kraft. Christian Watson, they don't give him credit in, we'll say, pass blocking, because it's more about the guys up front that they actually rate this. But one of the things about Christian Watson that I will say he's excelled at this year is downfield blocking and getting in the way and getting the yards after the catch for the guys around him. And even Josh Jacobs has pointed it out a couple of times that the job that Christian Watson has done downfield has been really solid.
On Tucker Kraft's blocking, I had a guest on yesterday and we talked about Tucker Kraft. If he's not getting the ball on any given play, he's still kind of at the center of what they're trying to do.
Right.
Like all of their offensive successes involve him one way or another, whether he's catching the ball or whether he's blocking or 4th and 1, taking a snap. And what a brilliant play. Let's spread the defense out, make it look like we're going to pass, and then run a tight end in to get a soft look. Like, he's just at the middle of everything they're trying to do on offense.
By the way, and this is from Terry. Terry said, who is the number 1 overall ranked offense in the National Football League this year? It was who we saw last night. It's the Baltimore Ravens. When you look at, now again, going by Pro Football Focus's ranking system, and they tend to be a little more in-depth, but Baltimore number 1, San Francisco number 2, Atlanta number 3, Detroit number 4, and the Washington Commanders number 5. And you're thinking, well, the Packers got to be up there, and they're not. The Packers are 17th. They're in the bottom half of the league. They're 17th in the league. Now, do they excel at certain things? They're better. They're 14th when it comes to the pass game. When it comes to pass blocking, they are the number 1 pass blocking team in the National Football League. Number 1. So when you talk about the overall offensive line, I think the overall line of the Detroit Lions is better, but the Lions, when it comes to pass blocking, rank 15th.
And you know what's funny? I talked about this last night, I think, with a caller. This is the best run blocking offensive line that the Packers have had in a while, too. It seems like that's what the numbers would tell us, because and I don't know what the rankings are, but just stick with me for a sec. Like, under Aaron Rodgers, they always had lean, tall, athletic tackles. They can move the pocket. This line has been good in pass protection, but between Sean Ryan and a couple of these other guys, they can also maul you in the running game a little bit more.
To the eyeball test, we would say yes. To the actual rankings,
where are they?
Not even close.
Really?
28th.
Well, let me put it this way. The product is excellent. Whatever they're doing is leading to great success, and maybe it's mostly chalked up to Josh Jacobs.
But they rank Josh Jacobs as second best when it comes to opening things up, and the Packers' run game is 4th best in the National Football League.
Isn't that interesting? So is those rankings or those numbers then would lead you to believe that Josh Jacobs is that much of a difference maker?
Yeah, he's doing a lot of the work. Yeah, because the number one is the Atlanta Falcons, which surprised me a little bit. But Baltimore, I kind of thought, well, where's Derrick Henry?
Mm-hmm.
They're number 2, Buffalo number 3, the Packers number 4. It's interesting when you think about, okay, who's doing the work, and that's specific in the run game. Josh Jacobs, they had a whole thing on, I think it was NFL memes, and they did Josh Jacobs jump cuts and just showing where the hole is plugged, and then he had to make something out of nothing. That's why I said, look, I know the breakaway stuff that we are kind of became accustomed to because he was so quick out of Aaron Jones is great. It was few and far between, but it was great. But Josh Jacobs has just given you a durable, dependable grinder. That's what he is.
Well, and if those numbers are true, and for however they evaluate pass blocking and run blocking offensive lines, they are, because PFF does a good job, but you can't then take those two numbers. Hey, the Packers are one of the best rushing offenses in the league, and it's all because of Josh Jacobs because their offensive line can't run block to save their life. Then you can't look at me and say, well, running backs don't matter.
Right.
Then they have to matter if all of that is true. Then Josh Jacobs has to be on some level worth the money, which a lot of sharps will tell you, running backs in 2024 aren't worth the money.
I think this has been the year of the resurgence of the running back.
It's been really fun.
Yeah, because the run game has become prevalent again in so many different facets. Paul says, I got to disagree. Maybe if Love's ball placement was better, the stats would be better. I can't disagree with that. I was just kind of throwing it out there that watching Christian Watson stop on a ball that had he kept going, it drops right in his hands. And stopping a ball and it lands 5-7 yards downfield further than where he is when he began to let up. My question then becomes, and I think it's legitimate, is does he have that readability of depth perception and the ability to go just run under a ball and go get it? And I don't know. I want to see more out of Christian Watson and that connection with him and Jordan Love. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Kendis says, I think that Jordan Love is going to be the difference maker because he's going to come back fully healthy. Once he's back to full health, he will really begin to excel. I think he's going to have a second half of this season, much like last season, which would make the numbers go up steadily from there. That's kind of what we're hoping, that because they've, and I have not gone back and checked the numbers under shotgun versus the numbers under center and compared them to last year. But when he's under center more often, the ability for the RPO stuff and some of the movement and motion and the way the flow of the offense seems to go. I don't know if it changes play calling. I would assume it does. I don't know all that. But what I do know is that I look at if Jordan Love is under center, there's just something different about the dynamic of the offense and the ability to also play fake in the run game. And the one thing that I'd love to see Jordan Love do is become a better play faker in the run game, because when he sells it really, really well. And I've always said, you want to watch a quarterback run the play fake, go watch Boomer Esiason. Back in his day, I can't tell you, we used to count. It was a drinking game when I was younger. When Boomer Esiason would fake and the camera would follow him, and yet the ball was handed off, or they would follow the running back and he still had the ball. He was one of the best because he would do it with two hands, because he was a left-handed guy, he would leave his right hand in the stomach of the ball carrier while pulling the ball out with his left hand. And you didn't know where it was because the ball carriers also became integral in all of this, and with the arms around their gut, and you couldn't tell if they had the ball. And they worked on it. I mean, they worked on that incessantly. And you have no idea what that split second of play fake gives you as far as the ability to read downfield and see things get open, especially when you've got linebackers are yelling ball, or run, and, guys are diving back towards the line of scrimmage, which is leaving guys downfield open. So I would love to see him really accentuate his play faking capability. 877-867-1670. Good discussions all day today. This portion of the program brought to you by our buddy Tim at Tim's Stereo Systems, the best out there when it comes to putting sound systems on your motorcycle. He is by far the best. But when it comes to adding headlights that are wider and brighter, wider as far as being able to see the entire road and even off to the sides of the road, when you talk about being a little bit brighter, also when it comes to the brake assist, making the ride a little bit easier, put the sound systems he installs. If you've got a bike and you're getting ready to put it away for the season, stop for a second, throw it on a trailer or ride it down to Tim's, drop it off, day or two, he'll get you back, get you going. But Tim Stereo Systems, and Authorized Sounds, SOUNDZ, Sounds dealer. And especially this time, give yourself a little early Christmas present. That's our buddy Tim at Tim Stereo Systems. Motorcycle Audio. You can find him over on Facebook and Instagram, or call directly 608-718-1425. 608-718-1425. You will not be sorry. That's Tim Stereo Systems Motorcycle Audio, 608-718-1425.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Today, one of those days, you're going to head out, maybe do a fish fry tonight. Buzzard Billy's out there on Pearl Street in La Crosse, and I love that place, man. They've got a really good fish fry. They've got a shrimp dish too. Whether it's a fish fry or maybe you're going out and still doing the fish thing with the shrimp dish, it's got some kind of an Alfredo sauce on it that's kind of Cajun-y with some spice. Oh, we had that when we were out there when we had our meeting out there, and we went out there for Oktoberfest.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Kristen ordered that, and I had a couple of bites of that. First of all, it's delicious. Second of all, the next day, your toilet better be made out of asbestos. But it was fantastic. It was well worth it. It was crazy. It was crazy.
I think it was the 6 or 7 gin and tonics that I had after dinner that probably took more of a beating on it. that was probably more detrimental to my health the next day. But
and they've got Billy Bucks that you can spend out there too. So check out our friends at Buzzard Billy's, or maybe tonight you're going to do a little date night. Go upstairs, Starlight Lounge. Go up there, and I don't know if they have any music tonight, but always a great place to go and chat and sit down and relax and get yourself some custom-made martinis. Hell yes. That's the Starlight Lounge upstairs, Pearl Street, La Crosse, Wisconsin. Buzzard Billy's downstairs. Got to stop in. Use the Buzzard Billy reward points as well. You will not go wrong. Love that place. Love that. Can't wait to get back out there, too. Love going out to Buzzard Billy's. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. If you want to hit us up, please feel free. Go ahead and do so. 877-867-1670. This is from some dude. He said, if the Packers are going to win the NFC, it is going to take a monumental effort by both Jordan Love and Xavier McKinney to right both sides. They're making a lot of mistakes, and those mistakes will not happen against good teams in the postseason. If they do, then this team can pretty much write themselves off as a 10 or 11 win team that was good enough to get to the postseason, but not good enough to get deep into the postseason. And that is from some dude. That's fair. I can't argue with that. I mean, it's kind of a blatant statement. I mean, teams that make mistakes at the most inopportune times usually don't win the games. The one thing that I have found, and we've talked about this, that has been impressive for this Packers team is when they have turned the ball over. What, they have 3 against Houston? They had 3 turnovers? And they won the game?
Yeah. So Jordan Love threw 2 picks, and then they had the muffed punt. Right?
Yeah. I think it was that game. And they still won. That's the one thing about this Packers team that has been impressive, that with the mistakes, with the penalties, with the picks, with the pick sixes, they still won game. They won the game where he threw the pick 6 against the Rams out there in LA, taking on the Rams. So when they have made mistakes, they've been able to overcome them. So now think about it in the sense of, if they don't make mistakes, and they beat, I think at this point in time, if you go back, okay, and you take a look and you say, okay, tell me the teams that most likely in the NFC are going to be playoff teams. Right now, the Rams are a game behind Arizona. So the Arizona game, the Packers made the mistakes. They beat Arizona. Arizona is a division leader right now. They threw the pick 6. They beat the Rams. The Rams on the outside looking in when it comes to the wild card, but nevertheless, at least a team that's 500.
They were injured at the time. No Nakua, no Cup.
Right.
But still, that's a good quarterback and coach, and you know what they're building.
So they made mistakes against the Lions. They did not win. They made mistakes against the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals will be in the postseason right now if today were the day for the playoffs. Minnesota. They lost the game to Minnesota, had a couple of mistakes, obviously, in that game, but most of those mistakes came in the first half of that game. They had, again, the costly interception, and the turnovers against Philadelphia to start the season. They would have won that game, woulda, coulda, shoulda. But Philadelphia is a 6-2 team, and they would be on their way. Although right now the Washington Commanders would win the division at 7-2 if today were the playoffs. Philadelphia would be a wild card team, and then the Packers would be the other wild card team right now, sitting at 6-3. So it'd be the Lions, the Commanders, the Falcons, the Cardinals, the Vikings, the Eagles, and the Packers. They have not beaten the Lions. They have not beaten the Vikings. They have not beaten the Eagles in that mix. Those teams that are all in the postseason, they weren't able to beat them, and it was basically their own self-inflicted wounds that cost them the games. They did beat Arizona. They have not played Atlanta and have not played Washington. So out of the 5 teams that were 6 teams that are sitting ahead of them, they've lost to 3 of them, and they've beaten 1 of them, and the other 2 they have not played, of playoff teams. So you're right. Those mistakes will ultimately cost you in the postseason against good teams that can capitalize. So I kind of fast forward and say, okay, if you want to play the what if side of things, if they don't make those mistakes, if they don't have those costly penalties, if they don't turn the ball over for pick 6s, they would beat Detroit, probably beat Minnesota. And hell, you could even say they don't turn the ball over against Philadelphia. They beat Philadelphia, and they still haven't played their best football. So on one hand, you look at it and you say, oh, man, this team they're not doing enough to get out of their own way. I just don't know about it. But on the other hand, you're thinking to yourself, this team hasn't even played their best football yet. And they're sitting at 6-3. And within 1 score of each of those teams that I just reeled off in Detroit, Minnesota, and Philadelphia, all above the Packers in the postseason race right now, they're 1 play or 2 plays away from winning those games. So if you've got reason for optimism, there's your reason for optimism. 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free. But there's your reason for optimism.
Well, and I hate to always do this. If you would have told me, because I think it's a tired way of talking about sports, but coming out of Brazil, right, with Jordan Love injured and the team's 0-1, if someone would have told me, hey, the Packers will actually be 6-3 going into their bye, be like, oh, that sounds excellent. Like, I would like to sign up for that. You know what I mean? And then with a chance now in the second half of the season to hopefully play better, doesn't mean they will, but they'll have an opportunity to. Like, I think this team's in a great spot, and I don't want to forget about that this week just because we're frustrated with the way the Lions game went.
David Monona says there's only one guy, and that's Alexander when he's healthy, that makes everybody else in the team so much better, and teams that cannot scheme against him or without him, they're an average to poor defense when he's not on the field. Secondarily, I would kind of agree with that. I think it needs to go hand in hand with the guys up front too, though. But I would agree. You got to get a good Jair back. Chris Inacio says, I don't think it's just one person. It's the penalties and the drops that need to change. Does not matter if a guy steps up, if their plays are wiped out by stupid penalties. Well, the penalties have cost them. I'm not going to disagree with that. But I'm just talking about strictly getting better. And, okay, let me say, I should maybe pre-qualify this by saying, hey, let's just say they clean up some of the penalties and they clean up some of the stupid passes that Jordan Love has made that have turned into turnovers. If they clean those up as a whole, what else needs to happen? And to me, I would say my first circle would be the guy that they're going to put in there for Preston Smith, and that's going to be Lucas Van Ness. That if you get a pass rush, that makes everybody, including Jair in that secondary, that much better. 877-867-1670. Find us. This one's from Cassidy, who says, hey, Unit, I notice you have not mentioned Veterans Day. I haven't because it's next week. I mean, I know, look, you're going into the Veterans Day weekend and there's a lot of salute to veterans and such. And as much as I'm into veterans, believe me, I know when Veterans Day is. I know that the whole weekend is coming up with celebrations. I know there's parades. I know certain areas have recognition for veterans. Absolutely. But believe me, I don't think there's many more people in the state of Wisconsin that have veterans in their crosshairs than when it comes to making sure that the attention is paid to them than this program. So. But
glad your listeners keep you accountable.
I know. I don't mind that. I'm like, maybe she's saying it tongue in cheek too, but it's like, come on.
Or maybe, if you would have said something at the jump and she's like, hey, I didn't, did you say something or did I didn't.
Right. I didn't. I know that I saw a lot this morning on the salute to veterans, and it's going to be a whole weekend, and you're going to see the salute to service and everything via the NFL this weekend. I get all that. I respect all of that, and I appreciate all of that. And I think it is a very valid reminder as to what, veterans and those that have served have done for us and protect us from. And every time I go give a speech for one of our charities, I always say, if you're a veteran, raise your hand. If you're in the military, raise your hand. And then I say, keep your hands up, because everybody else should give them a round of applause, because those are the people that signed on the dotted line, so that when you lay your pillow on your head at night, they're the ones that are standing guard saying, not on my watch. So absolutely, we respect our veterans. Hell yes. Let's do this. We'll step out. We'll take a quick break. On that note, we'll come back and pick up where we left off. 877-867-1670. Hey, if you're going to be taking shuttles this weekend, whether it's to the concerts downtown, Bucks games, whatever it happens to be, and when they start running them again next week, when they're going out to the Badger game, Badgers taking on Oregon, that's our friends at Stenny's, one of the best, if not the best, two now sports bars in the state of Wisconsin. Second and National in Walker's Point, downtown near Milwaukee, and then the other one, Watertown Road in Lake Country in Pewaukee. And yes, they run shuttles from there as well. Both places spectacular to go and watch games, spectacular food. The Bloody Marys, that's the one thing I may do on Sunday morning if I get up, because Kristen's all about their Bloody Marys. May go do that. I don't know if I'm going to eat a bunch of wings early in the morning, but may do the Bloody Mary thing, or go buy a growler and then bring it back to the house and have it on Sunday morning. But Stenny's Lake Country as well. Stenny's, absolutely fantastic. Award-winning Bloody Marys. They've got great wings, great atmosphere. And they run shuttles as well. That's Stenny's. You should be here.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The kick is up and wide left.
Why don't they customize the goalposts?
Gina, Della from Pella? How'd you get into the booth?
No, listen. If they made our goalposts just a little wider, and why just yellow? It's Green Bay. Add some green stripes.
Sure, Gina. Should they also remove the G at midfield and paint a Pella crest?
Okay, Wayne, I get it. You can't customize a football game to go the way you want, but Pella can customize your home the way you want. From durable materials and fold-away hardware to custom colors and ease of maintenance, backed by quality craftsmanship, energy efficiency, and warranties that will last for years.
And this has got to be the Pella Dagger.
Right now, get 0% interest for up to 60 months at PellaWI.com. Okay, now I've got popcorn and soda.
Right here.
$22.50, please.
Too bad we can't customize concession prices.
That's it. You got this, partner? I'm out of here.
Hold your appointment on or before November 8th. Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back. Hey, I want to remind you, coming up the end of December, Packers are going to be on the road in Minneapolis. And we are going to be at the Potawatomi Sportsbook, downtown Milwaukee. We're going to be enjoying the game. We got a watch party. The Green and Gold postgame show going to be live from there. We're going to be down there hanging out. So make sure you're going to be joining us. Put it on your calendar. Circle that date. That's coming up on the 29th of December. And we're really, really looking forward to it. It'll be our first full-blown with listeners and such show inside Potawatomi. We did an opener down there when the sportsbook first opened inside the studio they built. But I think we're going to actually go outside of the studio. We're going to hang out with everybody upstairs in that VIP area, and I think that's where we're going to have like our party. So, and more details to come on that. But yeah, we're going to be at Potawatomi Hotel Casino, whether it's gaming, sportsbook, 13 different restaurants, all the music they have, the DJs upstairs, they have the bands over there. It's Rock and Brews. They always have kind of an act, maybe an acoustic at 360 Bar. They got a lot of great stuff over there. Go to paysbig.com. That is paysbig.com. Again, paysbig.com. That's Potawatomi Hotel Casino. Okay, here's a thought. So we're talking about what needs to happen for the Packers to get deep into the postseason. This is going to take me to my next thought. So if we had to pick 4 teams, 2 of them in the AFC, 2 of them in the NFC, that right now are going to be the representative, the odds-on favorite to be in the Super Bowl, I'd say Kansas City, and it probably would be a toss-up between Baltimore and Buffalo, because Buffalo just runs into Kansas City and can't get past them. Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens, can't really run into Kansas City and can't get past them. I think Baltimore's the more complete team. So if I had to pick 2 out of the AFC, Kansas City and Baltimore, would you agree or disagree?
I would agree. Buffalo and Baltimore are challenging for 2 different reasons. Buffalo is so Josh Allen centric, and they can run the ball now, which is great. Baltimore's more talented, but they also play their worst game every year when it matters the most.
And their defense is not great.
And their defense isn't great. Exactly.
Buffalo may get the nod, but I think the Ravens right now are at least probably the most complete team that we've seen out of them, being able to run the ball in a while. But their defense, was it last year or the year before, their defense was really good. And Lamar Jackson got banged up, and then he comes back last year and wins the MVP. And the last year might have been that window, but I still think that they've got the legitimate shot. In the NFC, if I had to pick 2 teams right now to represent, Detroit is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
The other team with 7 wins is Washington. Do you believe in Washington? Because this is the reason I think the NFC is so wide open. Or do we go with Philadelphia?
Well, I wouldn't go Philly over Washington. Right now, I honestly, I know it sounds crazy. By the end of the year, I still think Minnesota and Green Bay might be the 2 best next teams.
I do too.
I want to see where Washington is in a month. Maybe they are that good. Before this year, both Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury were kind of punchlines. Like now everyone's praising them. Why didn't everyone hire Dan Quinn? Why didn't everyone hire Cliff Kingsbury? Because Cliff Kingsbury was kind of not thought of very highly after his time in Arizona.
Here's Washington's schedule. They've got Pittsburgh at home this weekend.
I can't wait for that game.
That'll be a good one. Then they go on the road into Philadelphia. That's their test.
It'd be a good test for both of those teams. Get a good read on both teams.
Then they get the Cowboys that come into FedEx Field. Then they go on the road to take on the Titans. That should be a win. The Saints, they get the Titans at home. That should be a win. The Saints on the road, you got to figure that would be a win. Then the Eagles come home. Then they get the Falcons and the Cowboys. Now, the Cowboys, we'll see what they do with Cooper Rush this weekend, but I think the Cowboys are dead in the water.
They were dead, and they seem dead in the water with Dak.
So if you look at Washington's schedule, it's somewhat favorable to at least get them to 11 wins. You got to think Cowboys should be a win, Titans should be a win, Saints should be a win, maybe even Cowboys again. So there's 11 wins right there. Then the other games that would be questionable would be the Falcons and the Eagles, because they got to play the Eagles twice, the Falcons once, the Cowboys twice, depending on what happens this weekend, if they knock out the Steelers. And the Steelers, by the way, are going into Washington. So we'll know over the next 2 weeks how good Jaden Daniels and that team is. If they win against Pittsburgh, lose in a close one to Philadelphia at the Link, then maybe you become more of a believer in what Washington has going on, although their defense is not stellar. Their defense isn't great.
Yeah, let's see what Marshawn Lattimore adds, and their big trade deadline acquisition. I could be sold on Washington. I just need a little bit more than half the season, and I think that's fair. Like, I don't think I'm being a nitpick, skeptic of a team that's really fun and seems really like maybe there's a team of destiny there, right? When you saw what they did against the Bears with that Hail Mary. I don't mean to poo-poo that. I need a couple more games to know for sure, because this was a team that no one really thought highly of. Now everyone's talking about, like, why didn't everyone hire Cliff Kingsbury? Well, because no one thought he was that great after he kind of busted out of Arizona with Kyler Murray.
You've got the Cardinals, speaking of Kyler Murray, at 5-4. They're the division leader right now. So they would already be in. They would not have a bye, but they would be in, and they would have home field for at least their first game, depending on what happens from there. So I don't think Arizona. Here's the next question, which makes it easier. If we believe that Washington is a close but no cigar, and think that maybe the Packers and the Vikings are stronger than them, and we'll just say, for S's and giggles, we'll take the Packers, because San Francisco's yet to be really kind of heard from, and here comes Christian McCaffrey back. They get back to full health and start playing the way they're capable of, I think you're going to see them ascend out in the West. I think they can then take over the West.
And I think we're out on Seattle on the idea of them being a player in the West.
Right,
I think after they hosted Buffalo, and they've lost two very, very winnable or important, I shouldn't say winnable, but two kind of prove it games the last couple of weeks.
And I agree. And they've lost both of them. So Cowboys are sitting at 3-5. Their season's pretty much done. So if I had to say the top team in the NFC, I think hands down is Detroit. I don't know if I'm a full-time believer in Washington, but I love what's going on over there. I would have to say, I want to say Green Bay because of all the reasons I gave earlier as to why they could really kind of turn things around in the second half if they just eliminate their own mistakes, because they've been close with teams they should beat. But I'm going to go with Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia is, now that they've got their run game, it seems like Sirianni's kind of gotten out of his own way. Jalen Hurts is playing better. I'm going to go with Philadelphia. So Detroit and Philly. So my next question then becomes, now who becomes the next two as sleepers to win it all? If you think the best teams are, now who becomes the sleepers to win it all? So let's do this. We'll do this as the next segment. Let's take a break. We'll do it in the next segment, because we believe that Kansas City is obviously on top. Then for me, it's like Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. But in the NFC, it's a little more difficult. The Lions, I'll go with the Packers. I don't know if I'm being, just kind of more of a hometown person, or I'm just looking at this legitimately in the second half of the season Packers had last year. But I think the Packers could actually do this. And I don't know if they could do it, though, if they don't win the division. So that's the other thing. But probably Philadelphia. I go with them just because I believe they can win the division. And I believe that they're going to be a really tough team down at Lincoln Financial. So then you've got the next two teams who would be kind of the sleeper picks in all of that. Let's get into that when we come back. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We got a whole lot more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up. This portion of the program brought to you by Sobelman's Pub and Grill. Whether it's the burgers, a big giant meal within itself, Bloody Mary. They've been over 25 years doing it in Milwaukee on St. Paul Avenue. Don't forget now, they're in Waukesha as well. So if you're thinking about that really good taste of Sobelman's, but yet you don't want to go all the way downtown, Waukesha on William Street, right across the street from La Estacion. Anytime you hear anybody say, let's go to Sobelman's.
Swedish Sobelman.
Milwaukee and Waukesha.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. I get a feeling that I never had before. No, I get a good feeling, yeah.
Good to have you back. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Andrew Chevrolet. Anywhere in the great state of Wisconsin, if you're looking for a new vehicle, they've got the all-new redesigned Chevy Trax. They have the EVs, including the Blazers, the all-new Chevy Silverados, the 2024s, 2025s. All 25s are coming in. The 24s, there's a few still on the lot if you're looking for one. And they've got great deals right now. A 1.9% financing through GMAC for qualified buyers. They got great deals and a whole huge lot of pre-owned certified vehicles as well. If you're looking for something and looking for great people to deal with and people that deal great with veterans and military members, that's our friends at Andrew Chevrolet, ANDREW, AndrewChevrolet.com. That is AndrewChevrolet.com on West Silver Spring Drive in Glendale, just north of Milwaukee. But it pays to come from anywhere if you get a great deal. If you can save $300, $400, $500, why not, right? Even in gas, you're not going to spend that much money, but go get yourself a great deal. That's our friends over there at Andrew Chevrolet. Go to AndrewChevrolet.com. So now going back into the discussion regarding Super Bowl teams, and we're sitting here kind of at the unofficial halfway point of the season and all that. So we kind of look at it and we think either Kansas City, Buffalo, or Baltimore, the best teams over in the AFC. And the NFC, little more watered down. You got Detroit and kind of everybody else. I'm going with Philadelphia. You're going with who?
Probably the Packers right now.
Packers? Okay.
Yeah.
So now make it a little bit easier. Now give me 2 dark horses
in the NFC
that could surprise people in both. So if I'm going to go with the AFC, the 2 teams that I think that could surprise people, and I don't know if it would be a surprise since Buffalo's considered at the top, but does Buffalo finally get over the hump? Could Buffalo finally get there? Could Baltimore, although Baltimore should really be kind of the favorite, could Baltimore finally get there? I don't think it's going to be the Chargers, but could the Houston Texans and Pittsburgh Steelers, either one of those teams, get there?
I think Pittsburgh, and I brought this up in Buy or Sell the other day, I think Pittsburgh could totally knock off Buffalo or Baltimore in like a divisional round game.
Yeah.
But I kind of think that would be their one punch. Like, I don't see Pittsburgh knocking out a couple of juggernauts, but I could see them getting one and really throwing a wrench into the wheel.
Right.
The team that I'm looking at, like, remember a couple years ago when the Bengals went on the run and then all of a sudden they were in the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
And you didn't see it coming, but then you're like, oh, okay, well, they got the quarterback. I guess it makes sense. I wouldn't be shocked if it's the Chargers. Like, I wouldn't be shocked.
They're very quiet 5-3 and nobody's talking about it.
They're a very quiet 5-3. Okay, so they have the Titans this weekend. I kind of need to see them hammer the Titans because the Chargers is always this weird team. They're always playing weird games that, like, they never blow anyone out. Like, what if the Chargers come out this weekend, they blow out the Titans and they really look like they've started to figure it out?
Right.
Now, they have some tough games remaining on their schedule, but they end the year, their last 3 games are home against Denver, to New England, to Vegas. They should be favored in all of those games, assuming that Herbert's healthy and they don't suffer crippling injuries anywhere else. Like, I'm not super confident in saying I would pick the Chargers. That would be my team. But I wouldn't be shocked if we're looking around conference championship weekend and it's the Chiefs and, oh yeah, the Chargers went on a little run. They're the team that actually got hot in the playoffs this year. That wouldn't shock me.
When you look at the top quarterbacks in the National Football League and you look at just the quarterback ranking, the quarterback rating, Justin Herbert is 10th right now in the league. Very quiet. 10 touchdowns, only 1 pick on the season, 65% completion percentage. He has got a 101.6 quarterback rating. He's got a 56.6 QBR, which is really good. He is averaging 215.6 yards per game. So they're running the ball more and they're not having him just kind of wheeling it all over the place because you look at, say, some of the guys that are actually in the top 10. Jalen Hurts is throwing it for 221.8 yards per game. Josh Allen's throwing it for 222. Jaden Daniels is only averaging 216.1 yards per game. It's not like he's, throwing for 300 yards a game. The highest average right now is really pretty much Russell Wilson in the short period of time that he's played, which is only 2 games, but he's averaging 271 so far. Lamar Jackson, 266. That's kind of it when it comes to high rankings as far as throwing the football. Although Geno Smith is averaging 285 a game.
Look, Geno Smith can make all the throws. It's just it's the Jordan Love thing. I don't trust him 2 or 3 moments a game to not make the boneheaded throw. He threw 2 picks into his own end zone or to the other end zone. You get my point when they're knocking on the door of scoring a touchdown.
Yeah. So we've talked about Justin Herbert needing to take the next step. And the guy that's been kind of the quarterback whisperer, very quiet, has been Harbaugh out there in San Diego or in LA with the Chargers. Justin Herbert could top 10 quarterback. He could possibly do that. Well, not that he's lighting it up with touchdowns by any means, mind you, because you got Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson both sitting at the top with 24, and he's only got 10, but only 1 pick. And 65% completion percentage. That's big numbers, man.
Tall, big, strong quarterback, physical, can play in the elements, can go on the road. And Harbaugh is building this team like he's built all his teams. Really strong on the O-line, run the ball. Dobbins has been awesome for them. And Quentin Johnston and Ladd McConkey, and it's a limited wide receiving core, but they're finding success. I just think that's the brand of football that could slug through a win in Baltimore or in Buffalo. And again, I'm not saying I would pick them, but if all of a sudden we wake up on conference championship weekend and the Chiefs are hosting the Chargers, I wouldn't be shocked. I could see that reality taking place, and it would be interesting. I think that'd be really fun.
Bryce, Scott, and a couple others over on the live stream, I'll say the team that you would look at as kind of being the dark horse could end up being Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay is a good team. I don't know if I'd call them the dark horse. They're a good team, though.
I would 100% agree.
Right now, it's kind of hard.
I would 100% agree if Chris Godwin and Mike Evans were healthy.
Right.
That's.
Are they both
tough.
on IR? Or they're just down right now?
Well, Godwin's done for the year.
Yeah.
He broke or dislocated his ankle. Mike Evans should be back, but he's got a hammy, I think, until week 11 or week 12.
So Tampa Bay ailing a little bit. Well, we'll see how they play this weekend.
But I love Baker's approach. That's a tough team to beat. You're always going to get a good fight every week. But they've lost like 3 or 4 in a row now. And I think part of that is, their defense isn't as good as it once was in their Super Bowl years, and they lost their 2 best weapons.
So going to the NFC, if I believe it's Philadelphia and Detroit, you've got a little bit different opinion, but and you got the Packers in Detroit. The dark horse teams would then be. Could you see? I cannot see Atlanta doing it because, and I hate to say this because I know it hurts Atlanta Falcons fans, but Kirk Cousins has 1 playoff win to his name in his entire career. 1.
It's 2 brands that I don't really trust. It's like I have a problem trusting the Falcons to do anything, and I have trouble trusting Kirk Cousins. So maybe they combine forces, and maybe the result is they need each other.
Right.
Or maybe it's 2 elements that I really don't trust to win big games in the biggest moments.
Could it be a storybook year for Jaden Daniels? Could they win?
I think if you're picking the Commanders, it has to be kind of a team of destiny. It feels like that has to be a big part of the calculus if you're believing in the Commanders as a contender.
I just, the path to the Super Bowl, the pool is either more shallow in the NFC or more level in the AFC or in the NFC, because you don't have Buffalo, you don't have Lamar and the Baltimore Ravens, you don't have the 8-0 Kansas City Chiefs. You got Detroit and kind of everybody else. It's kind of like there's an even playing field, because you could say, I still can't believe in Kyler Murray, the Arizona Cardinals. I can't believe in the Atlanta Falcons. I can't believe. Can you really believe and picture Sam Darnold taking the Minnesota Vikings to a Super Bowl?
No,
I can't either, even though they're going to get Hawkinson back. So that leaves me with, and then after that, you go down the list. Now you're talking about like the 8th seed on down. Could Chicago at 4-4? Because they got a tiebreaker over the Rams right now based on head-to-head and the win percentage. So based on head-to-head win percentage. So Chicago would be the next team in line. I can't believe in Chicago. I would believe more in the Rams than I would in Chicago.
The Rams we haven't brought up the Rams yet. I could see the Rams. The Rams almost beat the Lions in Detroit last year in the playoffs.
And you got the Rams, and then you got San Francisco and Tampa Bay. Beyond that, I don't see Seattle, certainly not Dallas, and it goes down from there. My dark horse would then be Washington, and that's kind of it. I can't sit here and say that I have a ton of faith in some of because we start to look at quarterback play. And I don't have a lot of faith in Kyler Murray. I don't have a lot of faith in Kirk Cousins. If I had to pick one, I'd probably take Kirk Cousins over Kyler Murray. I don't have a lot of faith in Sam Darnold. How ironic would that be is if Minnesota makes it in, they have to go to Atlanta and Kirk Cousins then beats them to knock them out of the postseason.
The Falcons are fun. They got a lot of talent. And if they can run the ball consistently and control lines of scrimmage, I really like the Falcons. It's just I look twice at the Atlanta Falcons and I look twice at Kirk Cousins. That's my hesitance there. It's more of a brand thing than anything else. It's like, man, can I really buy into that?
877-867-1670. Our friends out there at Big Boar Barbecue reminding you, hey, if you're not going to do a fish fry today or over the weekend, maybe you're going to sit home, watch some NFL, stop into Big Boar Barbecue. And they've got the barbecue to go. You can just stop in, take a load off and relax. They've got something if you want to do a little catering, whether it's the ribs, the breakfasts, or the chicken, the pulled pork, that creamy yellow mac and cheese, or the coleslaw that I love so much. Go to BigBoarBBQ.com. That is BigBoarBBQ.com. Call them 608-612-0387 for all the information about catering as well. Again, right there in West Salem, Wisconsin, that is BigBoarBBQ.com. 2 hours down, 2 hours yet to go. Final hour is going to be with Mike Clemens coming up in about an hour from now, hour and 15 minutes from now, so don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
This is the Wisconsin Sports Zone Update.
Well, the Bucks are in New York. It's where they're going to face off against the Knicks tonight. Milwaukee snapped a 6-game losing streak last night with a blowout win over the Jazz, allowing them to improve to 2-6 on the season. Doing it against a team like Utah, which is now 1-7. Not overly impressive, but Damian Lillard understands how big it was.
I think we needed it bad, desperately, just because, this is a team that came in with the same record as us. I think, a struggling team, a much younger team than us. They coming on our home floor. So, it was important for us to not only get off of that 6-game losing streak and feel something good, winning a game, but going into this next stretch of games, I think it was important for us to get back in the win column.
The Bucks will face the Knicks tonight before welcoming the defending champion Celtics to Fiserv Forum on Sunday. Tip tonight is at 6:30. Turning the Badgers, they also won last night, beating a veteran Montana State team by 12 as they improved to 2-0 on the year. Then host Appalachian State on Sunday. Then the competition takes a step up next Friday when number 10 Arizona comes to the Kohl Center. That will be the night that the Badgers will honor Bo Ryan by raising a banner with his name on it and welcoming back the 2014 and 2015 Final Four teams.
Actor portrayal.
When I first looked into life insurance, I worried about the hassle. Then I found Better Life. Their simplified issue whole life coverage plans mean no medical exam. I found a plan that fit my budget, and now my final expenses are covered. Plus, I get Better Life member benefits at no extra cost. That's definitely better.
Better Life Insurance, where better means belonging. Call 888-488-4136. Insurance issued by Better Life Insurance Company. Terms and conditions apply. Member benefits are subject to change. Contact a licensed agent for details.
Well, the Packers and Badgers are both on their bye weeks. Green Bay going to return for the bye next weekend to face Chicago at Soldier Field. Wisconsin going to look to snap a 2-game losing streak when number 1 Oregon visits Madison. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Good to have you back. Next hour of the Bill Michaels Show. About an hour and 15 minutes away from Mike Clemens joining us. We're going to talk some Packers football here during the bye week. Got Grant Bills in studio today. Kate Gunderson is sitting in the studio waving at everybody. If you want to give us a call, you can. 877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. Text us 608-321-1670. 608-321-1670. You can also track us down via YouTube, which is a great way to pay attention to the program and it'll alert you when we go on the air, and you can subscribe absolutely free and like us. Go to youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show, youtube.com/Bill Michaels Show. You can find us over on Twitter at Bill_Michaels, at Bill_Michaels. Find Grant at Wisco Grant, and you can also track us down on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, The Bill Michaels Show there. On the Twitch app, the Kick app, LinkedIn as well. Email the program, thebillmichaels@gmail.com. The website, thebillmichaels.com. The app is WOZN, The Zone Madison. And after the fact on Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Google Podcasts as well. Kate, what is your Twitter handle so we can throw it out there?
It is Kate F. Gunderson.
Kate F. Okay, there you go.
Yep, Fox is my middle name. So
is it really? Like that's your real name?
Yeah, Catherine Fox Gunderson, if you want to know my legal name. Now I've said it online.
I thought that was just like some kind of self-propagandizing tag you threw in there.
Like Scott F. Fitzgerald?
No, I thought it was like, Kate, I'm Foxy Gunderson.
I mean, I think that would be awesome, but no, it is my given name. Yeah.
Is that right? Okay. There you go. Well, at least Mom didn't put a Y on it. Then it would have been like,
Foxy.
It's actually my mom's maiden name. So
is it really?
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, she actually kept her name.
You didn't just tell everybody your password, did you? They always say what's your parents' maiden name or something like that. Yeah.
No, fair enough. No, so don't worry. I use the different password reset buttons.
I would have to go reset everything at this point.
What 3 numbers are on the back of your debit card? Just unrelated. What are those 3 numbers? If you want to.
And also, what's your social security number?
Yes,
but no big deal.
Last 4 will do the trick. Right. I don't need the full thing.
Yeah, I don't need it all. Just need the last 4. Okay, well there we go. That's a couple of moments. There you go. Bobby Buckwheat's already tweeting it out or putting it over in the live stream. I got it. I've written it down. I'm on my way. He's going to dress as a bush and be outside the studio when you come out later on today about 2:30. So
I already brought in your garbage can. You can't hide in there.
Be careful. Yeah. Oh, here?
Yeah.
You brought it in? Did you really? Oh, thank you very much.
Well, I make myself useful.
There you go. I don't mind that at all. Save me a trip. I was going to actually do that during one of the commercial breaks just to get up and walk around a little bit.
It is nice outside.
It is. It's I can't. You know what I got to do today is when I get off the air. That's one of the things I got to do is I got to go cut the grass. I got to jump on the tractor and go cut the grass.
It's not a skag though. What's even the point?
Yeah, I know, right? And might as well cut it with tweezers. So got to jump on the tractor, and really it's more so to chop up the leaves than it is anything else. But got to go do that when I get off the air before I head to the football game. Anyway, 877-867-1670. You can find us. We'd love to hear from you. Out of the 715, 715. Hey, can you get Bo Ryan on the program? We got Bo, don't we?
Thursday noon next week.
Next Thursday at noon, we got Bo Ryan coming on the program
because he'll be honored and his teams will be honored on. I believe the Arizona game's Friday night. I'm pretty sure Thursday or Friday night. I'm 90% sure it's Friday night. Yeah. Bo will be on because that'll be a cool event.
A lot of history with Bo.
Yeah,
I got a lot.
And you guys, you guys have connections, and you have Bo Ryan stories too. Yeah. That'll make for great content next week.
Yeah, and Bo is well. When I got to town, Bo had just taken the job for UW Milwaukee, and I'll never forget. I got him on the air because I knew of his success at Platteville, and I got him on the air, and it was it was a weeknight. I was doing Sports Central, and one of the guys comes in and says, and I don't know who it was at the time. But he comes in, he's like, why are you having Bo Ryan on? And I said, well, because it's a story. Sports. And they're like, nobody gives a blank about UW Milwaukee. Because it's all Marquette and it was all, the Badgers. And I said, no, the guy's a good coach. If you've ever followed his career. And I had a friend of mine who my cousin was really good in high school, basketball-wise. And he ended up getting a scholarship and he ended up, playing at Notre Dame. But his buddy played for Bo for 1 year at Platteville and then ended up tearing up his ankle. And his dad was an orthopedist and he ended up transferring out and going to a different school. He never played basketball again. But he loved Bo Ryan. I had Bo Ryan stories. So I kind of knew of Bo anyway, and I always followed him. And then they're like, why are you doing Bo Ryan? And so I ended up, then history, begins to start to unfold before your very eyes. And he stocks up the program. We were kind of taking, I've told this story 1,000 times, but we were taking a trip to see the construction of Miller Park. And Bo and I were in the car together. And we were talking about whether or not he was going to get the job and whether or not Pat Richter was going to hire him. And he kept telling me no. Well, I had really got a great friendship at that point in time with Rick Majerus. And Rick at the time, remember his mom got sick and he was living in the Pfister because Rick always lived in hotels. He never lived in a house. He never bought a house. He always lived in a hotel. And he was living in the Pfister, and his mom was from Milwaukee, and he was here taking care of his mom. So he took a year off, and Utah said, "Go take care of your mom. We'll take care of you." So a whole year they paid him, even though he never coached the team at all. All he did was take care of his mom. And Rick used to invite me. We'd go to this little Italian deli that Rick loved to go to. So he'd take me to the deli. We'd go have lunch before I'd go into work. And I got to know Rick, and I kept asking him, I'm like, look, all the rumors are that you're going to be the guy for Wisconsin. He said, I'm not going. And I said, well, why? Why would you not want to come back home and be close to your mom? He said, because Utah was so loyal to me. They paid, and he was making over $1 million a year, which was bigger money back then, 25 years ago. And he said, they took care of me. I'm not going. If they call, he said, I've talked to them, but I'm already said I'm not going. So when I'm talking to Bo, and he had interviewed, and I said to Bo, what do you think? What are your chances? He's like, nah, they want this guy, but he said they're going to get Majerus. I said, I'm telling you, Bo, they're not going to take Majerus. Majerus, even if they want him, he's not going. I know this. No. They're going to take him. Okay. So we were sitting at a Denny's in Wauwatosa, I swear to God, we were having breakfast in Denny's in Wauwatosa, and we had just come from touring the construction site at Miller Park as it was being built, and back in the day, it was the old Nokia phone. And I look over, and it says Pat Richter. And Bo looks at me, and in Bo's words, don't you say an effing word. I said, I won't. He picks it up and answers it. And next thing you know, he's like, I got to go to Madison. Well, congratulations. I had to hold the story until he texted me and said it's okay. But
Denny's.
We were eating at a Denny's in Wauwatosa.
Yeah. It's funny. Well, Bo Ryan would be happy that Wisconsin, I just pulled this up to have the number. They hit 16 of their 16 free throws against Holy Cross, and then they hit 20 of their 21 free throws last night. So
there you go.
At least through 2 games, Bo can be proud of that product so far.
Yep. And so Bo goes down in history, man. absolutely.
Yeah, next Friday night will be really
so
cool.
happy for him. 877-867-1670. So anyway, long story short is, yes, we're going to get Bo Ryan on the program. He's going to join us next week. Rick and Spencer says, beyond Detroit, everybody in the NFC has flaws except Green Bay. The Packers' issues are just mental, not a lack of talent. If you had to pick a lack of talent on this team, what would it be? I would probably say at this point, if I had to point one specific thing out, I would say they need pass rush. They would need a more consistent pass rush.
Yeah, talented edge rusher.
Yeah. That's it.
Now you could say that about Detroit too. Like Detroit had Hutchinson, or San Francisco has Bosa, right? Other teams have that star guy. And look, maybe Rashawn Gary heats up and he turns into that for the second half of the year. Maybe, but that's probably the area, the team that I would point out through this point. Yeah.
Yep. Let's see here. This is from Anthony, who says, if I had to pick a team, I'd pick Washington. I think Jaden Daniels is riding the magic carpet right now, and you always jump on the magic carpet ride. Appreciate the email. What else do we have here? Real quick. From Joe says, he says the same thing, basically. Jaden Daniels seems to have captured the imagination of all around him, and he has elevated that team by so many. Look at the guys that are going to want to go play in Washington, not just to play with him, but because of the surrounding areas and be a part of that scene. I don't necessarily agree with that. They're going to want to play with Jaden Daniels. If you're going there, it's because you have a legitimate shot to win. They've changed the culture there. Cliff Kingsbury had a chance to go elsewhere, and he ended up going there. So, offensively speaking, they've got things going on. They're really good. However, let me say this: they still play at that dump that's FedEx Field. That place is a pit. It was one of the early stadiums. There's a stadium or two that's a tweener. It's a stadium that, if it was built out of the old guard. So it was newer than the old stadiums, like the old Three Rivers Stadium, the old Riverfront Stadium, the old the Vet in Philadelphia, old Soldier Field. They didn't renovate it. They built FedEx Field, and they built this big, beautiful stadium. But then the new stadiums came along with the luxury boxes, with all the amenities, with retractable domes and this unbelievable turf and all these different things. And then the new ones were built. Much like, what the hell do they call the one where the White Sox play now? The old Comiskey to new Comiskey to whatever the hell it is. I don't know what it is. Is it?
Let me look it up.
Acrisure Century.
No, because I think that's the old Heinz Field is Acrisure.
Acrisure Stadium, he has the old Heinz Field. Whatever it happens to be.
Guaranteed
rate field, which is dumb as dumb can get. Anyway, that was a tweener stadium. The first real stadium, because that got built, then the first real stadium that got that home feel was Camden Yards, and then it was Progressive, which back then was the Jake, up at Jacobs Field, up in Cleveland. And then they started to get to those intimate ballparks that now have all the amenities and had room to materialize into other things via renovation, where the FedEx doesn't. So FedEx is now one of those fields it's not an old stadium in the grand scheme of things, looking at a place like Lambeau Field and Soldier Field and some of these other places. But it's also not a field that is new. And plus it's got Daniel Snyder stink still in it.
You're getting the worst of both worlds, essentially. Yeah. You're not getting the character of the old stadiums or the modern amenities of the new ones.
So my point being is that when you look at a lot of these stadiums that have been built since then, they have everything with facilities attached, and they're beautiful and they're new and they're fresh. And so you're not going there. You're going there to play with Jaden Daniels, and because you believe that team can win. You're not going there for the facilities. That ain't happening. Maybe the locker rooms are nice, but beyond that, nobody I know likes going there. When you always talk about going to FedEx Field, and if you talk to anybody with the Cowboys, with the Eagles or anything, they're like, that place has got bad juju. Just there's no vibe there.
The turf sucks. The press box is in like an awkward corner, I think Clemens has talked about. There's not much that's great about it.
There's nothing good about that place. Nothing good. Real quick, let's go to Sam listening to us in Eau Claire. Sam, welcome to the program, man. How you doing?
You know what? He's not here anymore.
Oh, Sam.
Yeah.
Sam.
I know, Sam, if you're listening, you need to call back.
Sam. Okay. Well, let's do this. We'll step away, take a quick break. We'll come back. We got a lot more to get to. Don't forget, coming up about an hour from now, Mike Clemens going to be joining us, and Mike will give us his thoughts on all of this. Not tonight, I don't think, but sometime this weekend, maybe tomorrow night. I might head down to Nice Ash and just take a load off and maybe watch some Saturday night games. Who knows? We're going to dinner. Maybe after that, go out down there a little bit. But whether it's the fine bourbons and whiskeys, just a good vibe. I don't know what bands they have in there this weekend, but they always have some good entertainment too. Live music Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Different flavors of hookahs, if you're into the hookah thing, which it's funny because it's a very diverse crowd down there. It used to be a lot of dudes and a lot of old dudes, and it's not anymore. It's the college kids go in there off of Carroll College campus. You get the girls come in. Even the girls are smoking cigars, which is cool as hell. Get a lot of girls that come in down there. But they got great music, blues and jazz bands, rock bands, cover bands, all that kind of stuff. Great music and just a cool vibe and a great place to go and watch a game. That's theniceash.com, theniceash.com. Nice Ash Cigar Bar, 323 West Main Street, downtown Waukesha.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The kick is up and wide left.
Why don't they customize the goalposts?
Gina Della from Pella, how'd you get into the booth?
No, listen. If they made our goalposts just a little wider, and why just yellow? It's Green Bay. Add some green stripes.
Sure, Gina. Should they also remove the G at midfield and paint a Pella crest?
Okay, Wayne, I get it. You can't customize a football game to go the way you want, but Pella can customize your home the way you want. From durable materials and fold-away hardware to custom colors and ease of maintenance, backed by quality craftsmanship, energy efficiency, and warranties that will last for years.
And this has got to be the Pella Dagger.
Right now, get 0% interest for up to 60 months at PellaWI.com. Okay, now I've got popcorn and soda.
Right here.
$22.50, please.
Too bad we can't customize concession prices.
That's it. You got this, partner? I'm out of here.
Hold your appointment on or before November 8th. Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. Glad you're here. Hey, this portion of the program brought to you by our friends at Levine Ice Burner, which if you're looking for a personal injury attorney, maybe an estate planner for a will or a trust, how about civil litigation? Contract disputes, maybe, business and contract disputes or defamation in that sense. Give them a call. They actually answer the phone. And Brad Iceburner has a veteran, by the way, worked with him on the Fisher House board, just a tremendous, tremendous guy. And he brings that same work ethic and that same concentration level to your case. You got to call him 608-621-2888. And he actually answers his phone, which is cool, unless he's in court. But 608-621-2888. And by the way, he actually goes to court, not like some of the other figureheads that are out there. He actually will end up in court and fighting for you. 608-621-2888. 608-621-2888. Levine Iceburner, they're just good people. Give them a shout. So there you have it.
We got Sam and Eau Claire back if we want to go.
Sam and Eau Claire is back. Sam, how are we looking today? What's going on, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Good. What you thinking?
Okay, I want to talk about the Packers. I think they need to be a lot more aggressive on defense, blitzing or something. LaFleur, I don't like him. His defenses, they're never very aggressive. Alexander's practically a shutdown corner, but the rest of the team is just, the rest of the defense is really not that good, I don't think. And I hate when the Packers are on the 2 or 3 yard line and they keep throwing the ball. If you can't run from the 2 or 3 yard line, you really don't deserve to win. And it's tough to pass when you're down at the other team's end zone anyhow. I hate it when I think the whole league is way too pass happy. But if you can't run in there from the 2 or 3, 4 yard line on 3 or 4 tries, you really don't deserve to win. And I think LaFleur, he's supposed to be really smart, but I think he outsmarts himself too much. And Detroit is so tough because a team usually takes on the personality of their coach. And Campbell for the Lions is such a tougher guy than LaFleur, basically. Okay, and Detroit, I'd have to say they're number 1 in the NFC right now, but if the 49ers can get healthy before the playoffs, I think they can be just as good as the Lions, come playoff time. And I think it'll come down to 49ers and Detroit and the NFC Championship game.
Which would be an interesting. Which we appreciate the phone call, which would be an interesting matchup from last year. Here's the thing: when he goes back and he says the Packers need to blitz more, the blitz rate in the NFL right now is the Bears are number 1 right now. The Bears are number 1, and then after that, you got the Cardinals. The Packers are the 3rd most blitz rate team in the National Football League.
Are they really?
Yeah. I wouldn't have figured that, but they are.
I think I checked about a month ago and they were about 15th. I think Hafley's really started to dial it up the last couple weeks because I think he's realized my guys aren't.
The Bears, the Cardinals, the Packers, the Giants, the Lions, then the Commanders, Eagles, Steelers, Rams, and Browns. You look at the teams that don't really blitz, and you kind of look at where they are defensively speaking and where they rank. The Vikings, this I found rather shocking. With all the fronts that Flores brings, they're 22nd in the league when it comes to blitz rate. Those blitz on damn near every play. Every play. Cowboys are 21st, Dolphins 23rd, Falcons, Saints, and on down from there. But I was kind of surprised when he said that. I thought, I wonder what the blitz rate is for the Packers. I looked it up real quick. Packers are the number 3 blitzing team in the entire National Football League. The Bears are number 1, Cardinals number 2, Packers number 3, which also makes next week with the Packers and the Bears interesting because that means they're going to get after Jordan Love. He's going to be somewhat under siege. So, and the good test was this past week because the Lions are the 5th most blitzing team in the National Football League. I never thought that. But interesting. The Bears blitz 62.5% of the time on fourth down. They blitz 31.5% of the time on third down. The Packers actually blitz more on third down than the Bears do. And the Lions blitz more on third down. The only team that blitzes more than the Lions on third down is the Commanders, who get after you at 45.9% of the time, where the Lions blitz 41.6% of the time. I never would have thought that. Never would have thought that.
There's levels to blitzes too, right? Like bringing 5 guys is very different than, and I'm stating the obvious, but there are some teams that bring 5 routinely, and that's a blitz, but it's not like you're going for broke constantly. And then there's other teams that'll bring everybody possible that they can commit, or they'll bring safeties, they'll bring linebackers. You can utilize lots of different players and counts of players to blitz. I think Jeff Hafley's done a pretty good job mixing it up. I'd like to see him blitz with Quay Walker a little bit more, because I'm really not sure what else he provides other than some speed and coverage.
Yeah, it's I didn't know that, so I'm glad he brought that up so I could at least take a look at it. But I knew they were more aggressive this year. That I knew. I did not realize that they were that much better or more often blitzing than to where they're third in the league. I didn't realize that. By the way, the Packers overall, when it comes to defensive rank, they are 11th. If you go by just yards given up per game on average, 320 yards even per game per average. The 49ers are number 10, just ahead of them at 314. And the Bears, defensively speaking, the Bears have actually a pretty good defense. The Bears are 12th at 322 yards per game. Here's the thing. Touchdowns allowed. The Packers have allowed 23. The Bears have allowed 14, and the 49ers have allowed 21 when it comes to the overall defensive side of things. So the Raiders, by the way, have given up 28 on the season. The two teams that are the best when it comes to defensive yards per game average, the Titans and the Texans, have both given up 24 touchdowns on the season. So actually a touchdown more than the Packers, which I actually look at. As much as you can talk about yardage, is it yardage where they're just kind of picking you apart between the 20s and you're forcing field goals, or are you giving up touchdowns? And the Packers, they give up 23 touchdowns. It's not the worst. It's certainly not where you want to be. Not when you're looking at some of the teams around you. Like the Chargers have only given up 10. The Dolphins, 19. The Broncos, 17. The Chiefs, 16. Chiefs got a really good defense. Chiefs have given up 16. The Bears have only given up 14, which is one of the best numbers to date this season. As a matter of fact, that's the best number this season overall. The Bears lead the league in the least amount of touchdowns defensively given up at 14. So Packers, that's what I'm saying. Look, the Bears offensively still relatively inept. Defensively, they got a good defense. And the problem, this is what I feel if I'm a Bears fan. For the last couple of years, you've made the moves to make the defense better, and you've got a legit defense. I mean, a legit defense, and you're wasting it. This is like when they brought in Khalil Mack and everybody, and they had a dominant defense, and they wasted it because they just couldn't get out of their own way offensively. How would you be if like you're Khalil Mack and you're like, man, I'm going here. This is going to be a great defense, the whole thing. And then they go, and we're going to take Mitch Trubisky. You'd be like, what am I doing?
Yeah, your offense is
what am I doing?
Wet potato.
Right.
I say I'd feel less bad for the Bears defense had they not blown it on that Hail Mary 2 weeks ago. You can't hang that one on. Well, you can blame the offense a little bit for that game because they were so inept for the first 3 quarters, but you had a lead with seconds on the clock, and you let it slip away. And then the defense did the same thing before halftime against the Cardinals last weekend. Yeah. So they're a very good unit. They've just been busty the last couple of weeks when it's mattered most. And that's probably a very bad sign for Matt Eberflus.
877-867-1670. Want to hit us up? Please feel free to go ahead and do so. 877-867-1670. Real quick, this is from Christian, who says the team with the most drops in the National Football League is the Packers, and that's disgraceful. Actually, it's not. The team with the most drops is Cleveland with 27, and the Giants, I believe, are ahead of them with 24, then the Packers. But you'd like to see the Packers come up with the football a little bit more. I completely agree with that. But I'm not going to say they're the most, and it's disgraceful. It happens, and this is one of those things that you're sitting here at the midway point of the season unofficially, that if you can correct some of these problems, you're going to be a better football team, without a doubt. All right, let's do this. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break and come back. We got a lot more to get to. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there at the Four Seasons Island Resort up there in Pembine, Wisconsin. Still, I believe anyway, I think the golf course is still open. They still had decent weather for it on the weekends, and this is going to be another decent weekend. If you get a chance to go up and play the 9-hole executive, or you even over at Pine Mountain, where they have the Timberstone Ski and Golf Resort. But we know the snow is going to start flying, and the snowmobile trails are going to open. And you go out and you snowmobile all day. They've got the large indoor pool, the sauna, the workout facility. Go to the dining room up in the Diamond Room and grab a great meal, and then head over to the lounge. You can do the wine flights or the cheese tastings and all that kind of stuff, or just head down to the Boundary Water Sports Bar and Grill. They got something for everybody. They got an arcade for kids, an ice cream parlor for kids as well. Great stuff at the Four Seasons Island Resort. Just go up there on the beautiful island right in the middle of the Muscano River. Sit on the island and enjoy yourself, kind of unplug and get away. That's the Four Seasons Island Resort. Use the promo code Michaels15 to get 15% off of your stay. Call them 715-938-5110, 715-938-5110. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Football players are equipped with standard equipment, helmet, shoulder pads, cleats. What if the entire front line was issued Bobcat equipment from Bobcat Plus? Not only would the game be more interesting, the added Bobcat attachments would make cleanup and the turf grooming so much easier for the groundskeeper. Visit Bobcat Plus in Appleton, De Pere, Butler, Kenosha, Eau Claire, and at BobcatPlus.com. That's BobcatPlus.com. Bobcat, one tough animal.
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Hey, a couple of reminders that not this week, but next week, we are going to be live at the Shy Bar down in Chicago at the Sheridan Grand Riverwalk Hotel with the Green and Gold postgame show after the Packers take on the Bears. So we hope to see you as a face in the crowd down there. Also, don't forget, coming up at the end of the month on Wednesday, November 27th. Wednesday, November 27th, Viroqua. We're coming back. We're going to be at Kickapoo Corners on for the daytime show. This show. And then we're going to be, which is next door to Kickapoo Creekside. Then we're going to take the equipment, tear it down. We're going to go next door to Kickapoo Creekside, where we're going to be having the huddle, the live audience at the huddle. So we're going to be doing shows at both, but the huddle will air live, and we're going to have a good crowd out there. So, as a matter of fact, I did some stuff. I'm going to have Ernie on. We're going to put Ernie on the air with us. I said, I talked to him today. I was on the show with him today locally, and I said, you know what? Let's do a segment or two. So Ernie's going to join us that night, live and in person.
I love a little Ernie on the air. Doing that Saturday morning show with you and Ernie in, when was that, May? When we were outside of, I can't remember which store we were out in front of.
The hardware store, the Ace Hardware.
It was Ace.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I didn't want to be
the
wrong.
Agri Center.
The Agri Center.
The Agri Center.
That's the word I was looking for. I was going to let you say the wrong name of the store. I
No.
thought it was Ace. I'm like, if someone's going to botch it,
Yeah.
No, I like broadcasting with Ernie.
Nope. It'll be fun. So we're going to have Ernie on with us. And then the following week, we are going to be at Nuts Deep 2 in Marshfield. I'm going to be on the road again, heading all the way up to Marshfield this time. And we're going to be at Nuts Deep 2, where we are going to be doing the huddle at Nuts Deep 2, which is the 4th. That is December 4th. So we'll be up there for that. So it should be good. We're on the road again. And then once we get to the postseason, we got some options. And I know they listen in Tomahawk. I still owe Trish a postgame show or a huddle. We're going to try to figure that out. We'll see if the Packers end up heading to the postseason. And if they do, which we assume they would, maybe we'll if they're on the road, we'll venture up north, because that's a great time up there, especially if you got some snow on the ground. Get all the snowmobilers to come over to Castaways. We were at Loopholes last year when Loopholes was open. That was just fantastic. That was a lot of fun. But maybe we head to Castaways and we do the show over there. So we'll be traveling around. I know Don wants us to come back and do a gig over there at DJ's Goalpost here in Milwaukee. So we want to do that. So hell yeah. That's fantastic. We got a lot of good stuff coming up. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. Steve says the Packers' defensive move of the Preston Smith and moving forward with Van Ness, Engabari, and Mosby would be interesting to watch as well. These young guns have the athleticism and speed that is needed, but they need to develop some different moves. I think of this and remember going back to Kevin Green teaching a young Clay Matthews some moves and greatly improved his pass rush skills. Be great to get somebody with real NFL experience to come in and coach these guys. Your thoughts? Have a great weekend. That's our buddy Steve. I mean, yes. If you get a really good teacher and a guy that can really accentuate what it is you already do, I mean, that's kind of what you're hoping for out of Jeff Hafley, so that he's able to kind of take that experience and the way they utilize them. But yeah, I would agree. I would love to see the development of Lucas. And again, Lucas Van Ness is going to get his snaps now, without a doubt. He's going to get his snaps, and he's going to get his every opportunity in the world to be able to kind of, really get good. So I'm excited to see what they can do, without a doubt. You look at a guy, you look at a guy like Rebovich, who's he's the defensive line coach. Then Downard isn't going to be. He's the defensive backs coach, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of the linebackers coach, Anthony Campanelli. He would be a guy that you would be relying upon. You got the defensive assistant, Vince. I can't remember Vince's last name off the top of my head, but you've got some quality guys that are there. I'm not too worried about it. Hopefully Van Ness can take that next step. That I would agree with.
He's certainly going to have the chance. I also, and I brought this up last night, like if Lucas Van Ness and Aaron Mosby and Brenton Cox Jr. all get a shot to take Preston Smith snaps, and Mosby and Cox look way better than Van Ness, like, okay, well then somebody's going to get the snaps. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think these snaps are owed to Lucas Van Ness, especially with a new defensive coordinator this year who wasn't around when he was drafted last year. So I think those snaps are completely up for grabs, but Van Ness is probably the leader in the clubhouse to get most of them. I've
got visions of Brad Jones in my head where Brad Jones was an Adonis walking around, this physique, and you're like, wow, that guy's just, man, he's built. He's a football player, and no, just never materialized, never materialized. There you have it. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, please feel free to go ahead and do so. This one is from Jake, who says, the wide receiving core of the Green Bay Packers, how would you rate them top to bottom? Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Jake, I'm not going to be disrespectful here, but I'm going to tell you very honestly, I don't care. Here's the reason why, because all of them have over 20 targets. All of them do. And that's including like Tucker Kraft. All of them do. When this offense, now think back to last year, especially when you go like the last 6, 7, 8 games of the season and into the postseason, all of them contributed. 1 week it was Dobbs. 1 week Christian Watson had a big game. Jaden Reed had a big game. They all get targets. You don't have to have, Jerry Rice and a bunch of dudes. If you've got a bunch of good dudes, it's great to have Jerry Rice. It would be great to have a guy like Jamar Chase. It would be great to have a guy like Deebo Samuel. It would be great to have a guy like, Amari Cooper, Tyreek Hill. Boy, you talk about a guy that feels slighted. Tyreek Hill. I saw some of his comments. I don't know, he was on a podcast or something. Some of his comments about still being one of the best, but where he's at. In other words, yeah, I'm still a great receiver. It's just, look what I got throwing me the football. And he's not lying.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't disagree, but maybe you keep that to yourself.
Right. He's not lying, but Tyreek Hill's really good. But you don't need that guy if you've got 4 guys that are all good. You don't have to have one great, one okay, and then the rest subpar. What you need is 4 good guys. But the fact that they can spread the ball around, they can go to Jaden Reed, they can go to Christian Watson, they can go to Romeo Doubs, they can go to Tucker Kraft, they can get Josh Jacobs out of the backfield. Then they go downfield, and as long as he doesn't drop it, Dontavian Wicks can get open. He's got the body and the size for it. He just needs to concentrate more. All these things that the Packers have, and all the things that have ailed them, are all their own doing. Their own doing. So anyway, just thought I'd throw it out there. 877-867-1670. Hit us up, 877-867-1670. If you find us, please feel free. Go ahead and give us a shout. We're going to take a quick break. We'll come back, and we've got another segment. Going to wrap up this hour. And then after that, don't forget, we're about 30 minutes away. Mike Clemens is going to join us and take us the rest of the way today as well. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at LD's Barbecue. LD's on Main Street in East Troy, Wisconsin. And here's the thing. Please remember the raffle tickets for the benefit of the Band of Blue. It's a beautiful custom 2024 Harley-Davidson Road Glide. The tickets are right there at LD's Barbecue. You can stop in and get them, or you can get them online, ldsbbq.com, ldsbbq.com. You scroll to the bottom of the page, list of shop, and that's where you find the link. So ldsbbq.com. You scroll to the bottom of the page, you can still get them. You can still get them. They make, don't forget they have gift cards and all that kind of stuff too for stocking stuffers. And they're $25 each. You buy 4, you get 1 free. Think about that. So you actually save some money too with what you get down there. But that's our buddy at LD's Barbecue, the award-winning barbecue that they have down there in East Troy, Wisconsin. More of the Bill Michaels Show coming up right after this.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The kick is up and wide left.
Why don't they customize the goalposts?
Gina Della from Pella, how'd you get into the booth?
No, listen. If they made our goalposts just a little wider, and why just yellow? It's Green Bay. Add some green stripes.
Sure, Gina. Should they also remove the G at midfield and paint a Pella crest?
Okay, Wayne, I get it. You can't customize a football game to go the way you want, but Pella can customize your home the way you want. From durable materials and fold-away hardware to custom colors and ease of maintenance, backed by quality craftsmanship, energy efficiency, and warranties that will last for years.
And this has got to be the Pella Dagger.
Right now, get 0% interest for up to 60 months at PellaWI.com. Okay, now I've got popcorn and soda.
Right here.
$22.50, please.
Too bad we can't customize concession prices.
That's it. You got this, partner? I'm out of here.
Hold your appointment on or before November 8th. Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. Bill Michaels Show. Glad to have you on board on this Friday. Don't forget, coming up here in about 20 minutes from now, 25 minutes, we're going to have Mike Clemens. He's going to be joining us. And Mike will take us the rest of the way with his insight as the Packers are on bye this week, and we've got a lot of different football to watch. By the way, so if you're going to sit down and watch a game, is there a game specifically this weekend that intrigues you more, like that you're geeked up and because we don't have a dog in a hunt, so to speak. So, I mean, obviously, I want to pay attention to what's going on with Chicago. I haven't looked and see who's on what and where when it comes to the television programming yet. But I do know that the evening game, the Sunday night game, is the Lions on the road taking on the Texans. The other game that we pay attention to is also a noon game, is the Vikings taking on the Jaguars. The best case scenario would be if you get the Vikings and the Jaguars on Fox. And then or vice versa, and then the Patriots and the Bears are on CBS or vice versa. At the same time, you can flip back and forth and then watch the Lions that night.
They're both Fox, unfortunately,
both Fox? Okay.
At noon. And then the 3:00 game, so Philly-Dallas is 3:30 on CBS. And
on CBS, really?
Yeah, there's very few 3:00 games, so we're going to get Fox in the Milwaukee market. I'm just assuming, I don't know this for a fact, but we're going to get the early games on Fox at noon, and then that CBS game in the afternoon will be not America's game of the week because that's Fox, but the CBS equivalent with Romo, and I would assume Romo and Nance are doing that game.
We'll get that. I don't mind that.
No,
I don't mind that. As much as I would take a lot of pride in watching the Cowboys go down, wouldn't it be great if Cooper Rush beats the Eagles and then all the soap opera begins to spin again in Philadelphia?
It's good drama. I'll pull for the Cowboys to win a game or two the same way that I pull for the Jets. Keep them around. Keep them in the mix.
Right.
You know?
Oh, my God. Can you imagine what it would be like on Monday if the Cowboys got a win?
It'd be pretty funny.
Cooper Rush looked fantastic. The defense actually played well. Is Micah Parsons back this week?
I think so. I think he's close.
And then
check that for you.
You got Sirianni, Jalen Hurts, the drama there. Oh, that would be fantastic.
Imagine if this was taking place and Dak didn't have a contract and he was coming up on free agency.
Oh,
right. If they hadn't just paid him.
Yes. God, yes. What? Is the CBS game of the week? Is that going to be Steelers on the road taking on the Commanders?
I'm hoping we get that. And if we don't get it, then I'll have to find a way to watch because I think that's the game that I'm most excited to watch.
Right.
Now, the Sunday night game everyone's interested in. The games that I'm excited at noon to watch, I'm excited to see Drake May versus Caleb Williams. And I'm excited to see the Steelers in Washington. 2 months ago, I couldn't have imagined that game wouldn't have interested me at all. But what's gone on with those two teams, I'm really excited to see the Pittsburgh, the Steelers versus the Commanders.
Yeah, I'd be excited. I'm going to scroll through. I'm going to see what's on, just to see if I can kind of pull it up. Maybe I'll do it during the break because it's taking a little bit longer than I thought it would because this level of cable is not great. But yeah, I want to see who the games are going to be locally, at least over on Spectrum, I guess. But
yeah, I don't know that any of these others, like I don't need to watch Bills, Colts, Broncos, Chiefs. Atlanta, New Orleans might be a little bit more interesting if New Orleans wasn't such a trash heap right now.
Right.
Just fired their coach, traded their best defensive player.
Yeah.
I'm not going to watch, but again, the Chargers are kind of on my radar. Tennessee is in LA. If the Chargers stomp the Titans, like if the Titans win this game 15-13, I'll be left thinking same old Titans.
We got Bears hosting the Patriots on Fox, and we've got the Steelers and the Commanders on CBS at the same time.
Those are the two that I want to see. That's excellent.
Fantastic. I'm excited for that. And then you get the Eagles and the Cowboys for the afternoon game. That's a good day of football. I don't care who you are.
That's excellent. And then the Sunday night game is Detroit and Houston.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit spanks the Texans.
Then you turn it over to Murder, She Wrote.
Murder in a Small Town.
Murder in a Small Town's on Fox after the football game. Nobody's going to watch that. Everybody's going to be watching the Eagles and the Cowboys go at it. So
interesting.
There you go. 877-867-1670, 877-867-1670. If you want to find us, that'd be it looks like a great weekend. I can't wait. I just can't wait. This is from Brady. Brady says, hey, guys, great show today. Just love the frank discussion. It's like a round table, like we should all be sitting at a bar having a beer. Brady, there you go.
Amen to that.
That's for you. That's for you. There you have it. I like it. That's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way sports talk is supposed to be. Let's see here. This one's from Zach. Zach says, I think the Lions are the best team in the NFC, and don't be surprised if Cincinnati makes a storm back and becomes a Super Bowl contender. I think they've got everything it takes. They're much like the Green Bay Packers. They just need to clean up a couple of mistakes. Zach, is as much as I wouldn't mind seeing it, not going to happen. Their defense just isn't any good. That's the problem. If it was just them and the offense and the defense needs to just kind of clean up a few penalties or here and there, that's one thing. They're just not good. You saw them last night. All they had to do was get a stop. They gave up 28 points in the second half, 21 of those points in the fourth quarter last night. All they needed was a stop, and they just couldn't do it. When you got defensive linemen running downfield and being shoved downfield backwards, that's all you need to know. I mean, the one thing they teach you some things technique-wise when you begin to play football. One of them is, unless you've got a really, really, really good spin move, don't ever turn your back on the opponent. Because once they get you from behind, I hate to say it that way on a Friday night, once they get you from behind, they're just going to steer you where they want you to go, and you're done. You're done. Done. So, Rick says, no football for me this weekend. I'm full honeydew alert. Oh, Rick, no.
You and Ebo both.
No. Yeah. Ebo's got to go rake leaves, I guess. That's it. No. Rick, I don't know what to tell you, man. I would either get as much as you can done tomorrow. First of all, how do you do all of that stuff? Because it's supposed to rain on Sunday. Sunday it's supposed to rain. So that might get you out of anything on the outside. Now, if you got to do stuff on the inside, you can turn TVs on in the room and do it while you're watching football. But otherwise, no, I'd do it right now. If you got to do the honeydew stuff on Sunday with this kind of a weekend coming up, unless, of course, you've been promising to get it done, I would wake up in the morning. You wipe the sleep out of your eyes. You stumble downstairs. Maybe you make a pot of coffee. I don't know. And then what you do is you got one of those big, like, I don't even like to say like the Yetis, but just a big mug of some type. What you do is you reach down, you go, and you unscrew your wang and you put it in the mug, because that you have no wang if you're going to sit around and have to do honeydew stuff. Just thought I'd throw it out there. That would be it. Unless, of course, you're Grant, you're tucking it to the right side because that's your tradition.
Tuck. Right side, always. Look,
nobody needs this.
So everyone else gets to talk about their sports. I don't get to talk about mine. Is that what this is?
No, you can talk about your sport all you want. I don't care. I just didn't need a Michael Phelps reference as to which place you're rolling up the hose.
Which direction I'm putting my Michael Phelps.
Nobody needs that, man.
If it's left, it's a problem with the flip turns. It's all about the flip turns. I know no one wants to hear it. I'm just sorry. I
used to yell that out on Friday nights. I'd be out in the clubs, man. I was bouncing. I was picking up girls, and they'd say, "Hey, how you doing tonight? What are you doing?" I'm going to go home. I'm going to try a flip turn. Really? How we looking? Yeah, that was it. How we looking?
Both feet on the wall. Push strongly.
Oh my God!
That's where the power comes from.
I did the same thing. It's the reason I had the bed pushed. I had no frame. I just had a mattress on the floor, man. That was
the
my
life.
college
That's
dorm.
the life. I wish we didn't have a
college dorm. I know. We got more. We got another hour of this crap coming up right after this. Don't go anywhere.
No.
Not just the Wisconsin guys. This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Bucks are in New York. It's where they're going to face off against the Knicks tonight. Milwaukee snapped a 6-game losing streak last night with a blowout win over the Jazz, allowing them to improve to 2-6 on the season. Doing it against a team like Utah, which is now 1-7. Not overly impressive, but Damian Lillard understands how big it was.
I think we needed it bad, desperately, just because, this is a team that came in with the same record as us. I think, a struggling team, a much younger team than us. They coming on our home floor. So, it was important for us to not only get off of that 6-game losing streak and feel something good, winning a game, but going into this next stretch of games, I think it was important for us to get back in the win column.
The Bucks will face the Knicks tonight before welcoming the defending champion Celtics to Fiserv Forum on Sunday. Tip tonight is at 6:30. Turning the Badgers. They also won won last night, beating a veteran Montana State team by 12 as they improved to 2-0 on the year. Can host Appalachian State on Sunday. Then the competition takes a step up next Friday when number 10 Arizona comes to the Kohl Center. That will be the night that the Badgers will honor Bo Ryan by raising a banner with his name on it and welcoming back the 2014 and 2015 Final Four teams.
Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
As a proud sponsor of the WIAA, Rural Mutual roots for all of Wisconsin's student athletes. Whether they're a hometown hero or they dream of the national spotlight, sportsmanship keeps Wisconsin strong. Visit ruralmutual.com/WIAA to learn more about how they support high school athletics.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Packers and Badgers are both on their bye weeks. Green Bay going to return for the bye next weekend to face Chicago at Soldier Field. Wisconsin going to look to snap a 2-game losing streak when number 1 Oregon visits Madison. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, Zach Heil, Print.
Welcome back. It probably works better if I turn the microphone on. Welcome back, unless I just stick my head out the window and scream loudly. Welcome back to the program, the final hour of the Bill Michaels Show. Don't forget, coming up here in about 15 minutes, Mike Clemens going to be joining us. Going to talk to Mike and get his thoughts on this bye week. By the way, Mike, I don't even think I mentioned it. Did I ever explain why people in Cincinnati are pissed off at me? Did I ever get into that?
I just thought it was an extended tease through the first 3 hours of the show. No, please tell us.
Thank you very much. In other words, Bill, you dropped the ball on that one. So for those that know, I mean, I obviously grew up in greater Cincinnati. And the last day, now where's the post at? I got to find the post because I got to read it verbatim. So anyway, I watched that game last night, specifically the end of it, the last quarter. But I wrote in the post, I left Cincinnati back in 1999. I was hired by the Packers and I was hired by WTMJ. My last day, I was on the air in 700 WLW, which is a massive, massive radio station, February 26th of 1999. And I made the statement then, and I still have it. As long as Mike Brown has any hand in this team, they will never, ever win a Super Bowl because Mike will just do enough to be competitive, but never proactive enough to truly, quote, go for it and be a winner. I watched talented players come and go, knowing that Mike will never add that 1 or 2 extra pieces or pay them to keep them in the fold that will put you in elite category. And after 25 years, and after watching Joe Burrow do anything and everything he could to guide his team to a win, only to see the glaring weaknesses cost them over and over and over again, my prediction has held true. And that's a shame because I got a lot of friends that live in Cincinnati that I still talk to. And so some of them are like, preach, amen. They get it. Others are pissed at me. They went to a Super Bowl and it was a stupid Zach Taylor play away. And this, I'm like, no. It was Von Miller beat your ass. Aaron Darnold beat your ass. Okay? That's what happened. Accept it. It was a hell of a game, but Joe Burrow was under siege in that entire game. They blitzed the hell out of him and they came after him. And between Aaron Donald and Von Miller, those two guys owned that game. And don't forget, you got, Aaron Donald walking around, putting his hand in the air, pointing at the ring. I mean, the guy that was desperate for a ring. So, no, they picked up Matthew Stafford. And don't forget, OBJ would have been the MVP of that game had he not gone down with the torn knee, with the knee ligament.
Got off to a great start.
Oh, my God. He was eating them up. They couldn't even cover him. And they had secondary problems going into that season, and everybody knew it. So, but my point is, they still have not won a Super Bowl. And then I watch what happened with them just saying, you know what? We don't need a running back. We've got Joe Burrow, which is kind of the same thing that Ted Thompson did here in Green Bay to Aaron Rodgers for a couple of years, where it was like, we don't need to get this guy. We don't need to do that. We don't need to add this. We got Aaron Rodgers. And they just kind of threw it on his shoulders. Now, Rodgers got him pretty far, and there were times where the defense was terrible, and Rodgers got him to the NFC Championship game. They just couldn't stop anybody, and we all knew it. But it's the same thing. They do just enough at times to in Cincinnati, it's different. And Mike Clemens, and the reason I bring this up is because Mike backed me up on this. Mike went down there, and when the Packers did joint practices with Cincinnati, and Jim Ozarski was the beat writer for the Bengals for a while. And so I would talk to them because I covered Cincinnati. covering the Bengals. First of all, on one hand, it's nice because it's family owned. So as a reporter or somebody who wants to go into the organization and cover the team, it is not red China. They kind of give you free run. You can walk right into the offices, I mean, they kind of give you free run. It's very laxed, very family atmosphere. It's the way kind of the Brewers used to be back when Wendy Seelig-Prieb owned the team and Bud owned the team. Very friendly. Very, hey, come on in. We invite you in. We want to help you cover us. We appreciate you being here. That's kind of what it is. But you also then get the sense of the level of professionalism. And now my buddy Jack Brenner is gone since then, and he was the PR director, so I kind of say this out loud. But Jack was always terrific with the media. He was very accommodating, very helpful. But they didn't have nearly the leash on their players and organization the way the Packers do and other organizations do. So it was a pleasure to cover, but when it came to the coaching staff and the way they did things, now this was back before they built the bubble too, because they were one of the only northern teams that never had a bubble to practice in, because they would practice in the elements. Didn't matter what it was. And finally one year they were going to the postseason, and I think it was 20 below. And they were going to practice outside. Mike was like, no, it'll toughen them up. And they're like, no, we can't do this. So they ended up going to the University of Cincinnati and practicing indoors there, because even the University of Cincinnati has an indoor practice facility. So anyway, I digress. But Mike kind of verified it. He said, you look at the joint practices, the staff, the fans, even the players, passionate for football, very helpful. But you got a sense that they lack the confidence or the pride because they know how behind the times they are and that their house is in. Mike basically saying, yeah, you're living in the old days. When guys used to sit and smoke cigarettes and drink beers with you and sit at your locker, and, it's not that way anymore. And Mike is still living off of his dad. Paul Brown was a very smart businessman and very smart. Paul Brown was a coach first. So anyway, long story short is that I've said, hey, they're never going to win as long as Mike Brown has a part of that team. Letting go of Joe Mixon, not making additional deals to bolster the run game, when they started losing defensive players at the beginning of the season to knee injuries and such, and guys were gone, they just kept saying, oh, no, we're fine, when everybody in the world knew they weren't, including the outward pundits, and they're still not. And they kept saying, no, we're good. It's just a couple of adjustments, which now we've seen them lose how many games by a score because they just can't stop anybody late in games when they absolutely positively need it the most. So anyway, I saw Mike posted that, and so we'll talk with Mike coming up here in a little bit. But yeah, it was I made a lot of angry friends down in Cincinnati today.
I don't think spending to spend is always good. So I'm just not going to yell, well, the Bengals need to spend more money. But the thing is, you have a quarterback, the likes of which you haven't had in forever, and he took you to a Super Bowl before you expected, and you're still dragging your feet on paying Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
Right.
Like, if you're not going to pay these guys now, then how can I ever trust you to be all in on anything?
Here's the thing. How much money has Jamar Chase won this year?
I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
How much? Because he looked like he was a man playing with little kids last night. How much has he won this year that they're going to have to pay that guy? Because he's going to blow out of the water the highest paid receiver, and that is from the Cowboys.
CeeDee Lamb.
CeeDee Lamb. He's going to blow CeeDee Lamb's contract out of the water.
I think he's the only guy in the league who can say, no, I should get as much or maybe even more than Justin Jefferson. I think he's the only guy who can claim that.
That's crazy.
And I know
Justin Jefferson's the highest paid wide receiver in the league. Yeah.
And
CeeDee Lamb didn't break that? Didn't beat that?
No, I don't know if he didn't beat it, but he's right there. Right. You can look it up. Man, the more I think about it, Bill, maybe the Bengals should pay Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. With the type of offense that they run, it's not egalitarian play action.
You're right. Justin Jefferson's getting $35 million a year.
Yeah. What is CeeDee Lamb getting? Like 32, 33?
Something like that. Yeah.
He's right there. But if Jamar Chase is like, no, I want exactly what Jefferson's getting, he's got a case. Way more of a case than Brandon Ayuk, for example, would, or somebody like that. I think the Bengals should pay both the guys because that's the type of offense that they run.
Yep. Yeah. It's crazy. Crazy how much money they're getting. And he's going to blow it out of the water. So trying to look and see by position. Where's it at? I want to go to wide receiver. There we go. Wide receivers. I want to go to the wide receivers. I think. Come on.
It should be Justin Jefferson 1.
Yeah, they don't. They're raking them by the wide receiving core for teams. I got to get back. I'll find it.
No, I'm on it. I think I got
find
it.
The overall.
Justin Jefferson. So this is total money, but CeeDee Lamb's 2, AJ Brown's 3. That seems fair. And when Jamar Chase gets paid, I think he should probably match Justin Jefferson. Then at 4, 5, 6 is DJ Moore, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
That seems right to me.
877-867-1670. 877-867-1670. You want to find us, please feel free. Go ahead and do so again. 877-867-1670. Yeah, he's going to get, I think he gets more than Justin Jefferson, quite honest with you.
And he's got a case.
Yeah.
I think he does. I think he's the only other wide receiver who has a case.
I think he's going to get more than that. And man, he is going to get a ton of money. Big time. Let's see here. They went through. Here we go. Let's go through. I shouldn't be doing this on the air because it's terrible radio, but I want to do it anyway. Okay. Justin Jefferson, the value of his deal, $140 million, $35 million a year average. Devontae Adams right now this year is actually $140 million with $28 million a year. He's 13.45% right now of the Jets salary cap. Then CeeDee Lamb's actually making $34 million a year on average base salary. Now, I'm going to change this. CeeDee Lamb's number 2. AJ Brown is number 3 with Philadelphia. Amon-Ra St. Brown, who just signed that deal, is 4. Brandon Ayuk is 5. He's tied for 5th with Tyreek Hill. Both of those guys are making $30 million a year. Jalen Waddle, 28, and it goes down from there. Devontae Adams is the 8th highest paid player right now in the National Football League when it comes to the wide receiving core. So is Justin Jefferson and the contract extension that he signed agreed to 4 years, $140 million contract extension, $110 million guaranteed, 88.7 fully guaranteed. Does Jamar Chase get more than that? I would have to say yes. But the problem is he going to get it in Cincinnati?
But back to my original point, if the Browns don't pay him, who are they ever going to pay?
Right.
It's Joe Burrow's college teammate, for God's sake. They went to a Super Bowl together.
Exactly.
He's been excellent. It's not like Brandon. There's certain wide receivers, Brandon Ayuk. It's like, okay, man, you're great, but are you that great where you feel like you should sit out games if you don't get top dollar, market resetting money? Jamar Chase has as good a case of anyone outside of Justin Jefferson to be the number 1 paid guy.
Right. I just, man. They can do it because they're going to have an estimated $60 million in cap space,
of course,
next year.
But that's money that they then can't go into the pockets of, the owners or,
right.
Towards,
and here's the thing, Jamar Chase already next year, even if he doesn't sign a new deal, he's going to still make $21 million next year. And then that's it. And that's the club option. My guess is he sits out because the next year is that's the club option on his rookie deal. My guess is because you know what he's making this year? $9 million. $9 million.
It's the scariest looking $9 million player. He's terrifying. He's incredible at jump balls, but he also is unbelievably fast and elusive. But he's smooth too. It's not herky jerky. It's very pleasing, let's say, to watch him play. It's very satisfying to watch.
He's going to get paid. So they're going to need defensive help. They're going to get some guys back. They're going to need defensive help. They're going to need to pay Jamar Chase, pay T. Higgins. Oh, man. They got all kinds of money. Thank God they've already paid Joe Burrow. And Joe Burrow took a little bit of a friendlier deal just to kind of keep it all together. But man, oh, man, oh, man.
He won't do that again if they let Jamar Chase and T. Higgins go somewhere.
Because that's the reason he signed that deal, because he wanted to make sure he kept them all together. Now Cincinnati did nothing but, God, they should have just paid the guy. I know they didn't want to set the precedent, but all you did was cost yourself money. Just dumb. Dumb in general. Just dumb. Let's do this. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. We'll come back. Mike Clemens going to be joining us. Stay tuned. We got more coming up right after this.
Ready? This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The kick is up and wide left.
Why don't they customize the goalposts?
Gina, Della from Pella, how'd you get into the booth?
No, listen. If they made our goalposts just a little wider, and why just yellow? It's Green Bay. Add some green stripes.
Sure, Gina. Should they also remove the G at midfield and paint a Pella crest?
Okay, Wayne, I get it. You can't customize a football game to go the way you want, but Pella can customize your home the way you want. From durable materials and fold-away hardware to custom colors and ease of maintenance, backed by quality craftsmanship, energy efficiency, and warranties that will last for years.
And this has got to be the Pella Dagger.
Right now, get 0% interest for up to 60 months at PellaWI.com. Okay, now I've got popcorn and soda.
Right here.
$22.50, please.
Too bad we can't customize concession prices.
That's it. You got this, partner? I'm out of here.
Hold your appointment on or before November 8th. Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Good to have you back. Bill Michaels Show. Going to be joined, Mike Clemens going to be on with us. This is brought to you by our friends at the Bay. Mike is brought to you by the Bay Motel. Bay Motel and Family Restaurant right there in Green Bay. The Bay Motel in Green Bay. Quiet and cozy and comfortable and just a mile from Lambeau Field. Perfect for that family stay. And then there's the Bay Family Restaurant featuring the homestyle cooking 7 days a week right there on South Military Avenue in Green Bay, just a mile from Lambeau Field. And don't forget, the draft is coming in April 24th through the 26th of next year. And the Bay Motel selling packages right now for the entire weekend of the draft. Call them 920-494-3441. 920-494-3441. And that's our friends over there at the Bay Motel in Green Bay. BayMotelGreenBay.com. That is BayMotelGreenBay.com. Mike Clemens joining us now on the hotline. Michael, how you doing, pal?
Good. I really thought your take on the Cincinnati Bengals overall, watching that Thursday night football game last night against the Ravens, was spot on. And of course, you know this from growing up in Cincinnati and covering the team at the start of your career and everything. But I mean, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are so talented, and they got the ball with, they got 4 downs there in the red zone against a very tough Ravens defense, but they can't get, the 2-point. And I don't know. I thought it was, they also got screwed on a couple of penalties.
Yeah.
But, we were just down there a couple of years ago for joint practices, and this makes a difference in this league. You've got to keep up with the other teams for facilities, not only just the roster, but the facilities and everything like that. And the people down there are all very nice, and they're passionate about their footballs, the fans, the players, the people in their organization, but they're most embarrassed about their facilities sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were the last team in the league that plays in the North that actually put a bubble up. They would always practice. Right. I was telling the story earlier. They practice in the elements. It was 21 degrees below zero, and Mike Brown wanted them to go outside and practice in it to get tough. And they're like, no. So they had to ship them up to the University of Cincinnati because they actually had a bubble.
And so another franchise that has just gone from an embarrassment to the best team in the NFC right now is the Detroit Lions. Yeah. I remember it starting 4 or 5 years ago when they brought in Jared Goff. And they, started building this team around him, and even that offensive line, even when T.J. Lang was still playing for them after he left the Packers in free agency. Did you see T.J. in the press box the other day? By the way,
I did not.
Yeah, no. He was standing behind us because he's part of he was talking to the Lions PR staff because he's part of their radio broadcast now. Because he grew up in Michigan.
Yeah.
But my gosh, he's joined the Lions organization, whether a player or now broadcaster, at a great time with
Wow.
Dan Campbell's put together with him. And so I talked to Kirby Joseph, who had the turning point play with the pick 6 to go up 17-3 in the rain against the Packers. And we said, here you guys are now 7-1. They're going to play the Texans on the road, so that's going to be a tough game. But the Lions are the team to beat. And I said, with this win in Green Bay in this weather, going to 7-1, how important is that for the Detroit Lions right now?
I feel like it's important because it's a
must have lost it.
I don't know if it locked up or what.
Okay.
Yeah, the audio just locked up, so I'm going to play it from a different site.
All right, that's fine. That's fine.
Thank you, Kate.
Yeah.
I think it might be a problem with this clip specifically. Maybe we should just move on to your next point.
Well,
I can tell you what he said, too. I mean, he just went in an explanation about it was huge for them for a divisional win, for being outdoors, because they're going to have outdoor games, coming up in November and December. And they executed a great plan, came out on top, pretty much dominated the game. And so the next question, Bill, is, so what does this Packers team need to do coming back from their bye and making adjustments to their game and trying to be the very best team that they can? The trade deadline is passed, and you move on from a Preston Smith. What can you do within to change? And one of the first things is the mental errors with the penalties. 10 penalties for 67 yards against the Lions on Sunday. And you ask Matt LaFleur, what's going wrong with these mental errors?
A lot of it are just lack of focus when you're talking about the pre-snap penalties. We've had far too many of those, and it's unfortunate because we want to be able to use our cadence on offense. Conversely, on the D-line, you got to key the ball, especially when you're at home and there's a lot of crowd noise. Really, it doesn't matter, home or away. You got to key the football. they got us yesterday in a critical situation where I don't think they were going to run a play, and we jumped off sides and it allowed them to go for it, and they made a play on 4th down. I mean, that was a good throw and a good catch, good route by Amon-Ra. But it was a critical play in the game. You're talking about a 4-point play. And then you have some penalties that are just, when you play with poor fundamentals, they tend to happen. If we get hands outside our framework, whether it's, or if we take, if you're an offensive lineman, you take a poor set, you get beat inside, sometimes you get a holding penalty, whatever it may be. Just those technical errors. And then you have the ones that are completely unacceptable. And it better be pretty clear to our team is just what I deem as the selfish penalties. John getting unsportsmanlike, those cannot happen. I take those very personally. The way I told them is those are on me. That's on me because I put you in a position to get that. So next time that happens, you can take your helmet and come stand right next to me and we'll watch the game together.
Mike, one of the things that, obviously got to clean up penalties. They got to clean up some of the stupid mistakes. But it's interesting because in the bye week now you've got time to adjust, which I guess the bye week actually came at a really, really good time. You got time to adjust for life after Preston Smith. And that means that, Ngabari, Lucas Van Ness, they're going to get more snaps. I kind of broke down the snaps and the productivity that those two guys have in comparison to Preston Smith. And if you kind of project them out, they'd have about the same productivity. And Preston Smith just didn't really fit real well here. But I wasn't overwhelmingly surprised that they got rid of him, only in the sense, though, that he is the veteran. He's kind of that veteran voice and has been there, done that. They just got a lot younger.
Yeah, Brian Gutekunst talked to us the day before Preston held his press conference in Pittsburgh. So, he kind of made it sound like, well, we're not openly shopping him. Okay. But at the same time, obviously, Preston had talked to the Packers and said, this ain't working out for me. Move me. And at the same time, Brian Gutekunst is like, you know what? We're already cutting back on Preston Smith snaps. We want to get more of Lucas Van Ness in there. We want to see more of J.J. Enagbari. We want to see more of Aaron Mosby, who we've talked about, Bretton Cox, other guys at the back of the line in their linebacker or now defensive end squad. So we said, a year ago this time, you traded Rasul Douglas. Defensive backs like Carrington Valentine. And so why did you trade Preston Smith when you're not 3-6, you're 6-3?
It's no different than last year. I think there were some players we wanted to see. I think that, the trend of how the snaps were going was only going to continue that way. So, I think it wasn't something that we set out to do. It wasn't something that we called a bunch of teams saying, hey, are you interested in Preston Smith? Because we know his value. But when the opportunity came and we got the phone call, we just thought it made sense for us for what we're trying to do. And again, I think he's going to a very good situation with a playoff caliber team and a really good organization. So that always, from my end, does help a little bit, especially with a guy who's given to us what Preston has given to us.
Mike, it's interesting because, you've got Preston Smith gone and there's a lot of speculation. Well, they're bringing up another edge rusher, and they're not necessarily going to do that. And you don't have, because you've already got some that are on your roster that are just not going to step into the starting role and kind of make that up. So what that roster spot is going to be, it's going to mean, do they bring back, off the IR of Marshawn Lloyd? Is that the direction they're going to go?
Exactly. Trading Preston Smith accomplished three things. Well, you got a 7th-round pick. All right, whatever. But most importantly is that the Steelers picked up Preston Smith's paycheck, which could be as much as $17 million if you read the reports on what was in his contract going into next year. And you're not going to pay a 32, 33-year-old linebacker that much. But you're right. The other thing is, well, maybe there's like Luke Musgrave, the tight end, coming back from ankle surgery, or this running back that they're so high on that they drafted. Speedy, Marshawn Lloyd is coming off IR, and Gutekunst talked about those possibilities.
got, Marshawn Lloyd's coming off of, IR here pretty soon, hopefully. And so that could factor into that as well. So like always, week to week, there'll be some roster management going on, but not anything right now. Obviously, we have really until Saturday to make any moves.
Mike, the one thing that is concerning is the fact that we have not seen a ton of productivity off of the edge rushers. We're not getting the sacks that you'd hope for. And I was just going through the numbers earlier today. The Packers are the third most blitzingest team in the NFL this season when you look at the numbers. So they're trying to create things. They're trying to move guys around. We've seen a lot of close but no cigars out of Rashawn Gary. They're just not putting up the big sack totals yet.
Right. And, Jeff Hathaway, the new defensive coordinator, is a secondary guy. He's really there to think about coverage first and then getting pressure on the quarterback second. I mean, that's just sort of the way things seem to be rolling out. So you ask Gutekunst, the GM, why are Rashawn Gary, and now it's going to be Lucas Van Ness, why aren't they getting more quarterback sacks since you switched to this 4-3 defense?
Yeah, I think they've done a nice job so far, and
You know what? This computer's just giving me all kinds of problems today, guys.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Let's do this. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll set it all up and kind of reboot, and then come back and get it all done and do that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, let's do that. Mike Clemens joining us on the hotline. Stay tuned. We got a lot more of Mike, and hopefully a computer that cooperates with us. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends over there at Warner Electric Supply. Warner Electric Supply. Go to Warner Electric, WERNER, WarnerElectric.com. That is WarnerElectric.com, or call them direct, 866-4-WARNER, whether it's for industrial, manufacturing, or residential needs, they can help you out. That is a Warner Electric Supply.
This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
Rake in a big win this November at Potawatomi. Go head-to-head in the Cash Clash game show for your share of $300,000 in cash and prizes. Just play with your rewards card for entries. Prize drawings on Thursdays. The Cash Clash game show at Potawatomi Casino Hotel, Milwaukee. Your win is waiting. More info at paysbig.com. Must be 21 and a rewards member to play.
Are you talking to me?
Bill Michaels will resume in 5 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 4 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute.
You switch to a 4-3 due to the new port.
Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Welcome back to the program, The Bill Michaels Show. Rocking on. Mike Clemens joining us, brought to you by the Bay Motel in Green Bay. As always, Bay Motel. Quiet, cozy, comfortable. Don't forget, they take care of Mike. They can take care of you, and they also have some packages available that are going to be coming up for the NFL Draft. Call them 920-494-3441, 920-494-3441. That is our friends at the Bay Motel, greenbay.com, Bay Motel, greenbay.com. Mike Clemens back with us, and we think we got our issues figured out. Every now and then, technology freezes up. There's not much you can do about it. So, Mike, we were kind of in the midst of talking about, this team and obviously why they have not been able to get the amount of sacks and such that they want. However, now you're going to get guys like Lucas Van Ness and Kingsley Ngabari. Those are going to be the guys that are not going to be relied upon.
Yeah, and the other thing is that, as fans, you're saying, this team was so hot last year in December and January. And, can they find that? Can they find that rhythm and groove now with the remaining games on this regular season schedule and get into the playoffs and make a run at it? And, it's funny. LaFleur hasn't used the word transition in terms of getting into the 3-4 defense, nor is the defense coordinator Hafley. But, Gutekunst said that, well, you got to understand we're transitioning to a 3-4 defense. So, the GM understands that they're going through this. And then you go directly to the players. Now, the Kingsley, JJ, and Igbari is a guy out of South Carolina now in his third season, and he's supposed to get it by now. Except you got to understand from the athlete, this guy came in thinking that he was a 3-4 stand-up linebacker. He has sculpted his body for the last 2 years and his mind to play stand-it up, and now he's got to put his hand in the dirt on the outside. And so we asked him, how do you think your defense is doing so far, switching from that 3-4 to Jeff Hafley's 4-3 defense under Hafley?
I think we're doing good for our first year in this scheme. We're still, I feel like we still haven't put our best outing on the Sunday yet. So I feel like we still got a lot to work on. And I feel like the sky's the limit for this defense.
Mike, we know that Preston Smith kind of wanted out, and we knew that it wasn't going to be a smooth transition. We were kind of hoping that it would be when Jeff Hafley took over, and they wanted to go more to a 4-man front versus a 3-man front, and kind of the defense that he uses. We just weren't seeing the numbers, and like I said, I went through the numbers the other day, and Preston Smith, his numbers weren't huge. His snaps were declining, so they kind of felt, this might not be a bad thing. But then we found out after the fact that he had actually gone to management and said, "Hey, it's not working for me, man. I just, maybe that's time for me to move on."
Yeah. So, you got Ennick Barry there saying, well, "I think we're doing okay," and then to borrow one of your phrases, nay, nay, nay.
Nay, nay. Right? Nay, nay.
Because Preston Smith shows up in front of the microphones in Pittsburgh and says Jeff Hafley's 4-3 was not working out for him.
We switched to a 4-3 due to the new coordinator, and it was a good system. But to be honest, a few weeks ago, I requested a trade. I didn't feel like I was being useful in the system, and it wasn't catering to my play style. And moving forward, I wasn't surprised when I got the call. It's like, I got what I asked for, and I'm at a great place with some great teammates. And, I'm excited for the new start, and I'm excited for the rest of this journey for this season.
I was talking earlier, I was kind of going through the list of names that work with the linebackers. Rebovich is the guy that I was kind of saying, hey, because we actually had a caller that said you liked it when Kevin Green was here, and he could say, here's how you play that defensive end position. Here's how you play a pass rush edge position. So Rebovich is the guy that really has kind of been entrusted to say, we got to get these guys better.
Yeah, that's a great analogy there. Rebovich has got 20 years in the NFL. I think it was the Buffalo Bills before he came here. He's one of the few defensive coaches that survived the switch from Joe Barry to Jeff Hafley. And they moved him from being the outside linebackers coach the last 3 or 4 years in Green Bay to now the defensive end coach, defensive line coach. So we asked Rebs, as they call them, are the 3-4 guys like Rashawn Gary or Preston Smith, are they uncomfortable in this 4-3 scheme?
I don't want to go into all that. Football's football, blocking's blocking, tackling's tackling. But we are still transitioning. This is a new scheme and system, and we're still working through a few things and details. But at the end of the day, we have a job to do. And if it happens to be a pass play, and we got to continue to rush the quarterback, then that's what we have to do. We got to continue to get better at that.
The one thing that's hard for people to grasp is well, you're 8-9 games into the season. What are you adapting to? What's the change? And you don't understand that like you said, you go from being a stand-up guy to now your hands on the ground, and now you're kind of hitting on bigger dudes rather than trying to sprint past them. You now got to take them on a little bit more with the physicality. And, in addition to that, it's not just, lining up on the outside, standing up. Now you could be lining up a little bit closer to the interior lineman than you would be the exterior. So it's a whole different thing that they're still trying to kind of grasp.
Well, one of the things we wondered, too, is that one of the things they're very excited about on their defense is, A, they've been healthy on the defensive line. But the rotations, Kenny Clark, then Devontae Wyatt and Brooks and Wooden and TJ Slayton, all these guys that they keep on rotating to keep them fresh. So then the question is, when we're talking about putting pressure on the quarterback, does it depend on which players you've got in the game as to when you're going to send guys or where they line up? Is that more important to the pass rush?
Yeah, there's different alignments. Let's put it that way. In a 3-4, you're going to have a little bit more outside, wider types of techniques. Your angle of entry is going to be a little bit different with a 5-man front and a 4-man front. Pass rush is pass rush. What leverage can I have? How can I attack an outside number? Can I attack his outside arm? Is his arm high? Is it low? All of those factors go into it in that split second. So when you are changing guys from different alignments, things could happen a lot quicker from where they've aligned. But again, at the end of the day, pass rush is pass rush. They got to create it. They got to do it. They got to have good fundamentals, techniques. Their eyes got to be focused on the right aspects of what they're trying to do, and then from a protection standpoint, each week we've seen different protections, whether it's been a 5-man, whether it's been a 6-man, sometimes 7, we've had 8. And it contributes to our defense also because we're giving them different looks, so teams are trying to figure out what we're trying to be in, whether it's whatever scheme that we're trying to doctor up that week to create that pressure, whether it's a 4-man, 5-man, 6-man, whatever we need to do to create that.
And Mike, the sack rate for this team, defensively speaking, has not been through the roof. We'll say you were kind of hoping that you would see a better sack rate coming out of the Packers, and as of right now, anyway, it hasn't been there.
No, the two biggest plays in terms of quarterback sacks are an inside linebacker in rookie Edgerrin Cooper getting through a gap, sacking Trevor Lawrence, creating a fumble, and then Devontae White falls on it, and it's a turning point in the game against the Jaguars. Or a couple of weeks ago, remember when out of nowhere they sent Xavier McKinney on a safety blitz off the left-hand side, and he just crushed C.J. Stroud? You're not seeing that excitement from the guys that you're paying to be in the pass rush. So I asked Jason Rebovich, point blank, he has been working with Rashawn Gary since he got to Green Bay day one in 2019 with LaFleur. And I said, how do I explain to the fans why Rashawn Gary, instead of having half a dozen or more sacks by now in November, only has 2.5 since they switched to this 4-3 defense?
Yeah, I mean, Rashawn is again, he's going through a transition, just like we're all going through. But when you demand a double team or a chip or a thump, what we use with tight ends, that's a respect thing, and I think hopefully a lot of people are understanding that. That's not an excuse, that's reality. But we also, in reality, have to make sure that we're going and still winning those opportunities. And, we're still striving to do that. And we're working on it. We'll continue to work on it. And hopefully it, comes into fruition here in the next few 5, 6, 8 weeks, whatever it needs to be.
The one guy, Mike, that has been exciting to watch, we've seen the growth of Edgerrin Cooper come in. I mean, that guy's got a whole different level of sprint to him, I guess might be the best way to put it. And just to watch him kind of shoot gaps, get to quarterbacks quickly. I mean, obviously the big one was when he got after Trevor Lawrence. You get the sack, the strip, the fumble, the whole thing. I mean, he's been a breath of fresh air, and he's really opened a lot of eyes.
So if the pass rush or the tackles for loss behind the line of scrimmage on a running back are not coming from the edges, they are coming from guys like Edgerrin Cooper. And Jeff Hafley, your defense coordinator, was asked, do you think that your pass rush is improving?
Well, I'd like to be better every week. I've consistently said that, right? We need to be better than we were last week, and I said that the week before, regardless of how we played. I think I know our pass rush has gotten better, and it's gotten a lot of people's attention, and you can see that by the way people are trying to block us. When you combine the pressures that we have, the different looks that we have, and then the players that we have up front and the ability to rush for, send however many that we want, I think they've done a nice job with the pressures and, with the sacks that we've gotten. Our pressure rates are pretty good, and our sack rates are pretty good, so I give those guys credit.
So, Mike, the big thing is if they get a pass rush and it becomes better and you're mixing and matching, and Van Ness really starts to step up, Engabari steps up, I see Rashawn Gary being used more, and he's getting a lot of close but no cigar. He's got he's got the most pressures so far on the team. That makes the secondary better. And suddenly you're looking at when Jair's back and, young guys like Bullard and, obviously Xavier McKinney's had a big season. All those guys become impacted by that.
Yeah, Evan Williams did a tremendous job stepping up and winning as a rookie the safety position alongside Xavier McKinney back there on the back end. And so then they thought that, that actually freed up Javon Bullard, who's a very physical defensive back, and they've been able to work him in the nickel. And then it's the little things, the big thing that these guys have to do, whether you're a linebacker or a defensive back or particularly a nickel, is that maybe you're up in the line and then you disguise. Are you actually going to cover? Are you going to drop into zone? Are you covering in man? And they have to do these things where they anticipate the snap, then they suddenly race back 10 yards and fall into a zone or whatever, disguising their coverage. And Hafley talked about how Javon Bullard has done that both as a defensive back in the slot or on the corner.
I said to Bull last week, I thought he had his best week of practice at the nickel position. And there was a couple times he was disguising and doing things, and I kind of smirked, and I was like, Bull, that's really good. You got me on that one, and I was going to tell you to get back in, and I saw you do it late. So it was so cool because he took such a good step at that position last week. And then what happens? Then he's got to go in and play safety, and he hadn't really practiced at that position. So now for a rookie, that's hard, right? It's like everybody wants to ask and play the rookie here, put this guy here. I mean, it's not always the easiest thing to do. So I give Bull a lot of credit for what we've asked him to do. I think he's a really good player, and I think he's having a really good rookie year. But to have his versatility, I think is huge.
Let's do this. We'll step out. We'll take a quick break. Mike Clemens joining us on the line, and we're going to go ahead and kind of wrap things up next. But kind of going through the conversation about what the Packers during the bye week kind of need to do coming out of the bye week. Stay tuned. We got more of the Bill Michaels Show coming up next.
Covering Wisconsin sports like a blanket. This is the Bill Michaels Show on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The kick is up and wide left.
Why don't they customize the goalposts?
Gina Della from Pella, how'd you get into the booth?
No, listen. If they made our goalposts just a little wider, and why just yellow? It's Green Bay. Add some green stripes.
Sure, Gina. Should they also remove the G at midfield and paint a Pella crest?
Okay, Wayne, I get it. You can't customize a football game to go the way you want, but Pella can customize your home the way you want. From durable materials and fold-away hardware to custom colors and ease of maintenance, backed by quality craftsmanship, energy efficiency, and warranties that will last for years.
And this has got to be the Pella Dagger.
Right now, get 0% interest for up to 60 months at PellaWI.com. Okay, now I've got popcorn and soda.
Right here.
$22.50, please.
Too bad we can't customize concession prices.
That's it. You got this, partner? I'm out of here.
Hold your appointment on or before November 8th. Certain restrictions apply.
Bill Michaels will resume in 3 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 2 minutes. Bill Michaels will resume in 1 minute. Bill Michaels will resume in 30 seconds.
Right off the jump, we get a personal foul, whatever they called on Keyshawn, the 15-yarder, just totally unacceptable. And then we had multiple, they have their first drive. It's 4th and goal on the 5-yard line. We jump off sides.
Yeah, man, a lot of self-inflicted wounds, a lot of momentum killers, a lot of drive killers. And that's just on us, man. I feel like, we've been getting away with a lot of it because we've been kind of masking it with the wins. But when you play a good team, man, all the little things catch up to you.
Couple of minutes to go before we send everybody off on a Friday edition of the Bill Michaels Show. Looking forward to it. Can't wait. Mike Clemens joining us as well. So, Mike, it was funny because I was sitting here reading one of the offseason needs for the Green Bay Packers. Already they're projecting who they're going to draft, and they're already talking about secondary because Stokes has not really lived up to expectations, even though he's battled back from that severe ankle injury that he had. And you just kind of root for the guy that he just kind of gets it all together. He just has been a little bit of a liability back there in the secondary, might be putting it kindly.
I know, but I can also hear Bill Michaels Show fans that are really into the draft say, are you kidding? How many more times do we have to draft at corner? How many more times? I mean, how many high draft picks we had? How many guys have we been through and traded to the Browns and all that? And it's true, although don't forget it's one of the top 4 key positions after quarterback, left tackle, pass rusher, and a corner. They're tough positions to play in the NFL. And you heard Josh Jacobs, the running back who came in this year from the Raiders, saying, some of these wins have maybe covered up the problems we haven't corrected yet this season. That's a strong statement of leadership, I think, from your running back to say that. And then, of course, LaFleur talking about he's going to correct the penalties. In the secondary, they change these titles around, and sometimes they have to beef up the titles so they can pay guys a little bit more to encourage them to come into Green Bay. But Derek Ainsley is a guy we haven't talked much about. He's the passing game coordinator. He's in charge of the secondary now. Of the Packers. He's a guy who's been in the league. He's 42 now, like 20 years with the Raiders, the Chargers. He was a defensive coordinator for the Chargers before Jeff Hafley brought him in this year to be his secondary guy. And so one of the things that happened is for Keyshawn Nixon to come to this guy and say, hey, I know everyone thinks that I'm supposed to be the nickel, but I wouldn't mind playing some corner too. Okay. And then they put in Corey Ballantyne in the game against the Vikings. He gets blown away, by Sam Darnold and company. So they switch and put Keyshawn out at the corner and move in the rookie Bullard at nickel, and that seems to work pretty good. Another situation, though, is like you've mentioned, is like Eric Stokes. He's back. He was a high draft pick out of Georgia. He had the horrible injury that put him in a wheelchair, but you see him with these missed assignments. So we asked Eric Ainsley, what does he think he's got today in Eric Stokes?
Yeah, just keep playing, being available every week. He's been up and he's been playing. Just keep working every day. He's got a great attitude. He knows the things he needs to work on, and he does it every day in practice. He attacks it. He comes early to what we call DB school, and he stays late to work on things he needs to work on. So he's a really good person, a really good player, and he's going to continue to get better.
Mike, you certainly hope that everything we talk about this bye week starts to come to fruition. Because I really believe that if this team fixes their own mistakes, they're a really good football team. They may not have a ton of superstars, but I think they're deep and they're a very solid team that if they don't make mistakes, they're going to win a lot of games.
Up next, they got the Chicago Bears in Chicago. And, God, I just don't want I'm not supposed to be a fan, but I don't want to see the Packers lose in Chicago because I enjoy that.
Right.
I own you things so much.
Yep.
You've got a Bears team that's coming off now a couple of losses, so they're at 4-4. They get a little bit of a break because they're at home. They lost to the Commanders and they got shocked by the Cardinals in Arizona. This weekend they got the Patriots. They should win that game to get back up to 5-4, and then this is the game that everybody is going to look forward to: Bears and Packers in Chicago, and that's what we'll be preparing for next week.
Mike, great stuff. Enjoy the weekend, and then we will reconvene on Monday, okay?
Thank you, Bill.
Appreciate it, pal.
Talk to you Monday at 1:20.
You're the man. There you go. That's going to do it. Mike Clemens joining us for a couple of minutes, and that is going to wrap things up. Kate, thanks for all the technical issues and kind of hanging in there with it. We certainly appreciate that. Grant Bills for being here as well. And everybody, just take the weekend off. Enjoy yourself. Have a beverage or two. Sit back, watch football. We will reconvene on